world every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 10th of February. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua. Crisis at number 10. Crisis for Keir Starmer, but for some, it's crisis. What crisis?
He withstands pressure really well. In fact, he sort of thrives off pressure.
The resounding sound of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Labour parliamentarians united in support of our Prime Minister.
The whole cabinet supports the Prime Minister.
Yes, Sir Keir clings onto his job by a thread. The Cabinet stands by him after a crunch meeting in Parliament, though some may well be sharpening their knives.
Elsewhere, the King makes an unprecedented statement expressing his profound concern after police confirmed their investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for suspected misconduct in public office.
Meanwhile, Prince William continues his official visit to Saudi Arabia after releasing his own statement alongside Princess Catherine, expressing their deep concern at the revelations concerning their Uncle Andrew.
Residents in the Cheshire village of Adlington have been left furious by plans for more homes to be built in their area, one of 11 sites proposed by the government for construction of a new town, the first wave since the 1960s. Stay tuned to find the details.
A debating society at a Welsh university has refused a request by the Reform Party to hold a Q&A session with students due to its so-called zero-tolerance hate policy. Is free speech under attack on our campuses?
Emmanuel Macron's government is sending letters to all 29-year-old French citizens, encouraging them to have babies whilst they still can. We'll be joined by one new mum who says we need the same here in Britain. If I could have my day again, 29, and if they wrote to me and said, look, have a baby, I'll say, how much are you giving me? How much money? What do I get? And why would somebody, you know, it's great in France that they've done that to encourage people. Maybe there are some incentives, some money, free nursery, something like that. Maybe that would work out.
Well, I think the point is that a lot of people would like children, but people grow up a lot later these days. I mean, it wasn't until the early 1970s that the school leaving age was raised from 15 to 16. Now it's effectively 18. Everyone's expected to go to university. You don't really start, you don't settle down in a job until you're, what, 21, 22. You're not thinking about serious relationships until your late 20s. You're not getting married until your 30s. I mean, it used to be that everyone would get married in their 20s, and now no one does.
Now you get married in your 50s, like me. That's exactly right. Well, I didn't fancy that. I thought I'm going to have a load of fun, and I basically had lots and lots of fun until I got to about, well, 54, 53, 2 years ago.
Yes, although you had children earlier.
I didn't know. I had my first child at 37.
Well, there you go, not in your 50s.
And the second child at 46.
Wow.
I know.
So that is what they term a geriatric mother.
Yeah, you're geriatric at 35, to be fair.
That's extraordinary. But isn't this the thing? I mean, I think a lot of people growing up now think that 35 is sort of the time that you might start to have babies, but actually, that's a time where you have to be pretty lucky to have babies by the time you get to your late 30s.
Well, they've termed 35-year-olds. I think at 35 you're called a geriatric mum, so that is the age. So.
Yeah. So, I mean...
How old were you, by the way, when you had children? I'd love to hear. Can anyone beat me? 46. No help. All natural.
Amazing,
yes?
amazing.
I'd like to
although that is incredibly rare, because a lot of people who want to have babies and try late just find that they can't do it.
I mean, it almost killed me, to be fair. It did kill me. And then I was resuscitated.
Blimey, that's a story and a half.
It did kill me.
Wow. Well, maybe these letters from Emmanuel Macron, who I know doesn't have children himself, they might actually be something helpful.
OK, well, as you know, the big story of the day, Keir Starmer will be getting right into that. Send us your thoughts or comments. GBNews.com/your say. But first, your latest news headlines.
Tom, Nana, thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories: ministers have been told not to follow Wes Streeting and preemptively publish their messages with Lord Mandelson during his time as US ambassador. It's as the Prime Minister has today chaired a cabinet meeting after earning a lifeline from Labour MPs during a crunch meeting in which he declared, "I'm not prepared to walk away." Cabinet ministers have rallied around the Prime Minister as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Mandelson's appointment as the US ambassador. Meanwhile, the Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar said the situation in Downing Street was not good enough and that too many mistakes had been made at the top of government as he called on Sir Keir to resign. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch claims some Labour MPs had given us indications that they would back a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister. The Labour First Minister, though, of Wales, Eleanor Morgan, has publicly backed the Prime Minister, saying, "I support Sir Keir Starmer in the job he was elected to do." But Ms Badenoch earlier saying it's a matter of time until he's gone.
It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes, because we are still waiting for the release of those documents which he committed to releasing last week. We still haven't seen the details of how he made this disastrous appointment. And instead, what we're hearing is that the Cabinet Office is telling ministers not to release their text messages with Peter Mandelson. That's completely wrong.
In other news, Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. A palace spokesman said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concerns at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. Thames Valley Police has said it's assessing claims that Andrew shared confidential documents with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, while the former Duke served as UK trade envoy. Andrew denies any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. A skilled butcher has been found guilty of murdering her partner before cutting her body in two and burying her remains in the back of a garden house more than 15 years ago. Isabella Sabloka was first reported missing in 2010 and her remains were found buried in Princes Street in Derby on the 1st of June last year. The discovery came after Derby Crown Court heard 40-year-old Anna Poddard-Warner contacted Derbyshire Police last year, telling them the body would be found there. Prosecutors said mounting pressure caused her to crack and email the police last year when a Polish television journalist flew to the UK to interview her. She'll be sentenced tomorrow. Elsewhere, French authorities have rescued 66 small boat migrants after their engine stopped working in the English Channel. This incident reportedly happened on Sunday night off the coast of Pas-de-Calais. It comes after an inquiry into the deadliest channel crossing on record said small boat crossings must end to prevent further deaths. The tragedy occurred when a crowded inflatable boat capsized overnight in November of 2021, leaving just 2 survivors who were discovered in French waters nearly 12 hours after the first calls for help. Home Office figures show 1,208 people have successfully crossed the English Channel so far this year. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted former girlfriend of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has appeared in front of the US House Oversight Committee via video link. Maxwell refused to answer questions, but her lawyer did confirm she's prepared to speak fully and honestly if she's granted clemency. He went on to say that she's willing to explain that both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
18-year-olds will soon be permitted to drive trains following concerns about the number of drivers approaching retirement. Legislation to lower the minimum age limit from 20 to 18 will be brought before Parliament this week, the Department for Transport has announced, with the change due to come into effect from the 30th of June. The move comes amid fears over a potential upcoming driver shortfall, with a quarter of train drivers expected to reach retirement age by 2030. And the award-winning actress Catherine O'Hara died of a pulmonary embolism, her death certificate in the US has revealed. O'Hara died on the 30th of January in a Los Angeles hospital at the age of 71. In addition to the blood clot in her lungs, the death certificate listed rectal cancer as the long-term cause of death. It was indicated that she'd been receiving treatment for the cancer since March last year. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3671 and €1.1474 euros. The price of gold, £3,687 and 75 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 10,354 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past midday. Now, the fight for Sir Keir Starmer's political survival continues as the Cabinet assembles for crisis talks.
In a meeting with Labour MPs yesterday, the Prime Minister addressed the growing Mandelson scandal fallout.
And Labour's Catherine Atkinson, or indeed Atkinson, told GB News that MPs are rallying behind their leader.
What all of them will have seen is an absolutely packed room, so packed that they stopped letting people in, and what they will have heard was the resounding sound of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Labour parliamentarians united in support of our Prime Minister.
They're all united until they're not, aren't they?
Well, that's right. But it comes amid claims that Health Secretary Wes Streeting is plotting against the Prime Minister, having spoken to Anna Sarwar before his public call for Sir Keir Starmer to step down.
So, has the Prime Minister weathered the storm, or are we in the eye of the storm? Is there worse still to come?
Well, we're joined now by the former Labour adviser James Lyons and political commentator Benedict Spence. OK, James Lyons, what is your thoughts on this? Is there more to come, or has he managed to survive?
Well, look, the Prime Minister is safer today than he's been at any time since the latest tranche of the Epstein files were released, with those extraordinary exchanges between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein, while Peter Mandelson was effectively the Deputy Prime Minister in the last Labour government. But I think we're probably just in the foothills of this scandal. As a result of what happened in Parliament last week, we are going to have what for journalists will be a treasure trove of messages between Peter Mandelson and prominent members of the government, whether that's advisors or whether that is aides. And that is going to be a very difficult day, I think, for the government.
There is a really interesting analogy to draw here. I mean, one of the reasons why Partygate as a scandal was so damaging for Boris Johnson is it didn't all come out on one day. There was a drip of stories in the run-up to the Sue Gray report. And that caused this story to have a new line, day after day, week after week.
Yes, death by 1,000 cuts.
Benedict Spence, do you think given that... Sorry, James, go on.
Okay. Well, even if all the details of Partygate had come out on one day, I still think that would have been very, very bad for that government.
Yeah, but they would have got over it, and then if Boris Johnson had the sense, he could have got on a plane and done a foreign trip, which is what Keir Starmer tries to do. But if it's always going on, then that's a bit different. Yeah. Benedict, let's get Benedict Spence on, because he hasn't said anything.
Well, I'm happy to let you all talk about it. You know, you're all very knowledgeable. I don't think we're losing out on anything. I think it's going to be one of those things where ultimately, yes, I think he is, for the time being, he is certainly safe. I do wonder whether or not somebody slightly lost their nerve yesterday. Maybe somebody senior in the Labour Party was planning on using Anna Sarwar's announcement as the springboard and perhaps blinked when stared down by the Prime Minister. But I think ultimately what we're talking about here is a Prime Minister who doesn't have anything to look forward to. We are waiting for the next tranche of revelations about this particular scandal. But are we feeling particularly optimistic about the upcoming by-election in Lancashire and Greater Manchester? No. Are we feeling particularly optimistic about the local elections? Also no. There isn't a good moment on the horizon for the Prime Minister. But equally, if you were hoping to take over from the Prime Minister, I suspect you wouldn't want either of those two things coming down the track to happen just as you get your feet under the table.
Well, isn't that the point, James, that ultimately what will bring down this Prime Minister, and I'm going to say it's going to be a will rather than a whether, will be when the cabinet resignations come. And, OK, they didn't happen yesterday.
Won't resign.
But there will be, at some point, a cabinet resignation. Someone will walk out, and it might be a stalking horse.
Do you think so, James?
Well, look, I'm old enough to have been a political correspondent in the sort of dying days of Gordon Brown's government. He survived a cabinet resignation at 10 p.m. on the polling day of the local elections when James Pennell went over the top. And
David Miliband didn't follow him.
Rather like Anas Sarwar yesterday. And, of course, Gordon survived a former Chief Whip, Jeff Hoon, and a former Cabinet Minister, Pat Hewitt, standing up at Prime Minister's questions and telling him to his face to go. The Labour Party have a long-standing aversion to getting rid of their leaders. The only leader in modern times that they have successfully got rid of was Tony Blair, their most electorally successful leader. And he was dynamited out by a series of ministerial resignations.
Well, the thing is as well, first of all, I guess the main reasons is that there's nobody else to take their place. But secondly, Benedict, do you actually believe that this Labour Party will crumble? Because I don't see Keir Starmer stepping aside anytime soon. And in his speech, he said that I've never lost a fight.
Well, I'm sure if we were to go back over his track record, we would find evidence that he has lost fights in the past.
Lost loads.
Excuse me. But it's one of those situations where right now there are lots of people who I think would quite like to be Prime Minister within the Labour Party. Lots of candidates, but none of them are quite ready yet. They're not quite sure where the land lies. They're not quite sure of their support. I think this is a very different Labour Party, actually, to the one under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. I think it's a lot less assured of itself, and it's a lot more divided in many ways. And I also think they understand that this is existential. If they aren't able to keep this show on the road, they could be looking at a similar sort of wipeout to the Tories. Once upon a time, there was only the Tories as your opponents. Now you've got reform. And I think the question that's on a lot of Labour MPs' mind is, could you put a time limit on how long we might be out of office? I don't think anybody knows.
Well, in 2006, when Tom Watson resigned as a Minister of State, and that kicked off these resignations that then forced Tony Blair to announce the date at which he would leave, or at least announce it would be his final conference that September. That was ahead of the 2007 Welsh and Scottish elections, where Labour was suddenly getting slightly worried that they might lose power in Scotland or in Wales. In the end, they did lose power in Scotland. But isn't there an analogy, James, to draw here this year, as we're ahead of elections in Scotland and in Wales, where Labour is looking like it might stay out of power in Scotland and lose power in Wales?
Well, look, as I've said, there has been an awful lot of talk about a kind of Macbeth mutiny amongst Scottish Labour Party figures for a while who were worried about the result. I was actually working for the Scottish Daily Record when Labour lost power in Holyrood back then as a political reporter in Westminster, and I remember how much it hurt Labour figures to see that go, and how really excited they were at the prospect of seizing back control of Holyrood. And I think that's why you saw Anas do what he did yesterday. But clearly, the analogy doesn't hold because nobody followed him.
Yeah, but do you not think he was actually quite brave to do that? And maybe he was working with West Reaching, maybe he wasn't. But at least he was principled. All the others are just worried about losing their jobs. They're gonna run away from Keir Starmer at some point soon.
Well, look, that may be brave in the Westminster, in the civil service sense, a very brave minister. I think it's going to be very hard for Anas now to campaign in the run-up to polling day, having called for the Prime Minister to stand down. And, of course, the Scottish campaign was predicated on having Labour in power in Westminster and Labour in power in Edinburgh being good for Scotland. You've seen a rather different approach from the Welsh Labour Party, who appear to be running against the Westminster government at times. So I think it's blown a hole in the political strategy there.
I mean, isn't this the thing, Benedict, that ultimately every single MSP candidate now in north of the border is going to be asked, do you support the Prime Minister, do you not support the Prime Minister, in an election that they really want to be talking about, the dire state of Scottish education, the high tax rates that the SNP have put forward, the ruination of the last, 20 years getting on for, that the SNP have been in power in Bute House. Instead, the entire thing is going to be about Keir Bloomin' Starmer.
It is, and I suppose actually that means that the best thing to do, given that he is so unpopular, is probably to throw him under the bus. In that sense, I think Anas Sarwar has possibly given his own party, his own wing, a little bit of breathing space. If they're able to put that little bit of distance between themselves and Westminster, which is, of course, one of the great sort of irritants of many Scottish voters, what's going on in Westminster, they might give themselves a bit of a chance. But I think we all understand that, you know, especially as well, we were talking about the by-election in...
Oh, Benedict, are you still there? Oh, you might unfreeze in a minute.
Well, I think it's useful because he was about to talk about the by-election. We are in the campaign period, so I think we should steer clear of that one in particular.
I think I know what Benedict was onto, and I think what he was onto was that the Scottish people are probably really annoyed watching the business in Westminster, and much as they don't like any of the parties, the other parties, they're probably more prepared to vote for Scottish Labour, but if it was distance from Westminster Labour, and I think Anas Sarwar's onto something.
Well, we'll
thanks
see.
to James Lyons and also Benedict Spence.
Absolutely. What an interesting... I mean, that debate, I think, is going to go on and on. This is a thing. Whenever the Prime Minister now gives a speech, Prime Minister's questions is going to be fascinating on Wednesday. He will not be able to escape this.
No, he won't. But listen, you can escape this, or not really, actually, because you can vote in our poll. And today we're asking, should all Cabinet Ministers release messages from Peter Mandelson? So far, 99% of you say yes, just 1% of you have said no.
This is the potential drip, drip, drip. Well, we're waiting months for the official data dump. But just as Wes Streeting did yesterday, there could be other people who, one by one, day by day, release their messages, keeping this story alive, keeping it at the forefront of people's minds, putting that pressure on the Prime Minister.
Well, I think Labour are quite good at burying stories, though, aren't they? And Keir Starmer's going to go on a foreign trip. There could be a war or something, and then people might try and forget this.
Don't give them ideas. Well, if you want to vote, gbnews.com/you decide is, of course, the way to do so. Your vote does matter.
But now time for a brand new Great British giveaway and your chance to get your summer started with a luxury £10,000 holiday for two. That's not all as well. We're going to give you 30 grand tax-free cash to spend, an incredible £40,000 in total. Hayley Sparks is here with the details.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more to come.
Yes, a debating society at the Welsh University has refused a request by the Reform UK Party to hold a Q&A session with students due to its so-called zero-tolerance hate policy. Is free speech under attack on campuses?
Well, all of that and more to come. We're even expecting to hear in a few moments' time from the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham. Might he have anything to say about the Prime Minister's position? Well, you're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
He's Alex Young, 46. He lost his right leg below the knee only last year after a very old football injury caused a bone infection. And you now chose, didn't you, Alex, to actually have it amputated in the end because it was such pain.
Yeah, it was the best option for what I needed. 4.5 years of pain, and just needed it gone.
Yeah, but under those circumstances then, aren't you provided with... I mean, people would assume that you're provided with all the kit you need.
You are. You are given a leg from the NHS, and depending on how active you want to be, they're limited on what they can do. I wanted to do a 5K run for the Dorset County Hospital in Dorchester, and they can't provide me with a running leg. So they can't provide me with a blade, so the best option was to wait a year, which I didn't want to do, and I wanted to do the run in July, and so I thought best option, make my own.
Now, as if you hadn't got enough to cope with, going through an amputation, losing your leg, learning how to walk on one, because you have an engineering background, you saw this as a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and it keeps my mind active, because you could be sat recovering for 6 months, and I'd already done a year's recovery from an older injury where I lost a toe. That's the one I made from bits from eBay,
Let's have a closer
Amazon.
look at it. Yeah, right. So they are all bits of proper professional
Yeah, they're
legs,
proper
aren't they?
prosthesis parts.
This is the important bit you wanted for the running.
Yeah, that's the spring-back foot, so that's a bit of an active...
That looks almost like it's carbon fibre.
It is carbon fibre, yeah. And there's different categories and weight class, so depending on how heavy you are.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. 26 minutes past midday is the time. Now, any moment, we're expecting the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, to speak in central London.
Yes, Andy Burnham is meant to be speaking about the so-called squeezed middle, but I suspect it won't be long until he gets asked about the Labour leadership situation.
Yes, indeed. We've sent along our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who I'm sure will ask some questions in the audience.
Because that's going to be the most interesting part, because Andy Burnham definitely missed out on a potential opportunity, which could have opened the door to other possibilities. And Keir Starmer is very, very good at closing people down.
Yes.
Even though he's not very good at being a leader at all, what he is good at, he's a chess player. He's a real strategist in terms of the way he works out which strings to pull. So, for example, Angela Rayner, who's a great supporter, as we know, of Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner would really...
Should we just listen to the first few words of what he has to say?
Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to be here today to thank the Resolution Foundation for refocusing the British political debate on people who most need politics to work for them. People who face the biggest pressures day to day. The people who were still out at work during the pandemic when many of us were still at home. And the truth is, the focus hasn't been on them for far too long. And that's why I do credit the Resolution Foundation for bringing it. I would say the focus was lost 4 decades ago, when the approach became more individual and market-driven, when Westminster policy tended to be geared towards those who were more affluent and the most aspirational. So let me give you 3 examples of that, and this relates to my 16 years in Parliament and what I experienced. If you take housing policy, it was almost exclusively focused on home ownership. Renting, until recently, didn't get much of a look in. Transport policy was, again, very much focused on the motorist, and education policy focused on the university route. And I look back to my time in government and the setting of that 50% target in 1999 for university attendance. If it would have been justifiable if there was a corresponding ambition for the other 50% of young people, but there never was, and for that reason it was wrong and unforgivable to put that target there in the way that it was. It was Westminster, in my view, at its worst. The time when the country last had a full focus on unsung Britain, I would say, was in the 40 or so years after the war, when a collective approach defined public policy in terms of repairing the basics, and it built the health, wealth and life chances of working class Britain. If I think back to my own youth in the northwest of England, born in Liverpool, grew up in the Greater Manchester area, if I think of my own youth in the 1970s and my friends and the people I grew up with, I would say it was the combination of available council housing and good technical education which provided the foundations for working class aspiration. The breakup of those foundations in the 80s and 90s threw those aspirations into reverse, and obviously that was combined with deindustrialisation in the Midlands, in the North and other parts of the country. And they've never recovered since. And then if you add to that the deregulation and privatisation of essential services in the same period, those privatisations represented a huge transfer of power away from unsung Britain and towards, if you like, the better off half. And the poorer half were left exposed to much higher costs for life's essentials, rents, water bills, energy, rail fares and bus fares.
Oh,
well,
I thought he had a bit more charisma than that, to be honest with you. Not to be rude to him. Maybe it's just because he's just got going, but I was hoping for a bit more.
No, bus fares and rail fares are very interesting, but we will bring you the very latest on what he has to say about the Prime Minister, perhaps in the question and answer session. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more still to come.
The government stands accused of protecting one of the ugliest buildings in Britain as London's brutalist South Bank Centre is handed statutory heritage protection after a 35-year campaign. But should we be saddling the country with concrete monstrosities in perpetuity? I quite like it.
Ugh, yuck. Disgusting.
I love it.
No, it needs to be flattened.
It's angular. It's lovely.
Oh, no. We need something nice and Georgian there instead. Well, all of that and much more to come after your latest headlines.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. The Labour First Minister of Wales, Eluned Morgan, has publicly backed Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, saying, "I support the Prime Minister in the job he was elected to do." Sir Keir Starmer has today chaired a cabinet meeting after earning a lifeline from Labour MPs during a crunch meeting in which he declared, "I'm not prepared to walk away." Cabinet ministers have rallied around the Prime Minister as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Lord Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador. Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. A palace spokesman said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. Elsewhere, French authorities have rescued 66 small boat migrants after their engine stopped working in the English Channel. The incident reportedly happened on Sunday night off the coast of Pas-de-Calais. It comes after an inquiry into the deadliest channel crossing on record said small boat crossings must end to prevent further deaths. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Tatiana. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, residents in the Cheshire village of Adlington have been left furious by plans for more homes to be built in their area. It's one of 11 sites proposed by the government for constructions of new towns, the first wave since the 1960s. But the locals aren't happy. Stay tuned for the details.
All of that and so much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Lots of cloud around today and also lots of rain, with some of that rain falling as hill snow over parts of Scotland, particularly later on. We do have an area of low pressure to the west of the UK, and that's bringing a frontal system up from the southwest. We'll see stronger winds in the southwest later on, and we do have some brisk winds towards the northeast through today as well. Otherwise, the main talking point is all that cloud and all that rain, quite wet across much of northern England, particularly towards the east and across much of Scotland as well. Another swathe of heavy rain coming in from the southwest as that front pushes its way in. Temperatures for many, well, particularly towards the south, on the mild side, highs of around 13, possibly 14 Celsius. Further north, a few degrees lower than this, but around average for the time of year. As we go into this evening, we continue with quite a wet picture across particularly eastern parts of Scotland. That rain continuing to build up, so we could see some issues, some flooding, some travel disruption, and also readily seeing that rain falling as snow over the higher ground of parts of Scotland as well. Also quite a wet end to the day across much of northern England, Northern Ireland, and really, well, much of the rest of England and Wales. There are just a few places, perhaps towards some parts of eastern England, East Anglia, where there could be some drier, clearer weather, and a drier slot for a time further west as well, but for many, it is just going to stay often cloudy and often quite wet. And that's the theme that we take through the night as well. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, more rain to come, more hill snow over parts of Scotland. Because of the cloud and the rain, well, temperatures aren't going to drop a huge amount. Mid-single figures for many in the north. Some places towards the south could stay in double digits. So we get off to a mild start tomorrow, but also a cloudy and wet one. Further rain, some murkiness as well in places. Could be some fog, particularly towards the east. The rain over eastern Scotland, that continues, so could cause some further issues. Elsewhere, it's looking damp for many, but something a bit brighter, but also a bit showery developing in the south as we go through the afternoon. Temperatures similar to today. Bye-bye.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A90, expect a southbound restriction at Glencast due to congestion. On the M67 eastbound between junctions 3 and 4, a police incident has closed all lanes, with normal conditions expected after 2:06 this afternoon. Northamptonshire's M1 northbound between junctions 12 and 13 has a broken down vehicle, with one lane closed. In Plymouth, the A38 eastbound near the A374 has a crash, closing one lane. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast is disrupted between Holyhead and Llandudno Junction, and cross-country is affected through Basingstoke. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 37 minutes past 12. Now, residents in the Cheshire village of Adlington have been left furious by plans to build houses in their local area. It's going to be known as Adlington Newtown.
The proposals would see thousands of acres of green belt built over for 20,000 new homes. Now, there are currently 12 proposed sites for similar projects nationwide, but the people of Adlington say that theirs makes no sense and would completely destroy their way of life.
How interesting. It's quite a usual thing, isn't it? You know, oh, yes, no, we want houses built, just not in our backyard.
I don't blame them, though. It's supposed to be greenbelt land. They said greenbelt you're not supposed to really touch, are you?
Greenbelt's just a nonsense designation in lots of areas. I mean, there are literal car parks in London that are designated as greenbelt. It's nonsense.
But that's the idea. You're not meant to build on greenbelt. That's what I thought.
Well, I mean, it's only because politicians have decided something's green, but there are lots of green fields that aren't green belt, and there are some concrete fields that are green belts.
Well, I can hear our producer saying, let's find out in the packing.
Shall we find out?
Get on with it. Sophie Reaper went to visit some of them to find out more.
England's green and pleasant land. A beautiful sight, but for how much longer? Under current proposals, around 3,000 acres of this green belt land is set to be destroyed, with 20,000 houses in its place to form the renamed Adlington Newtown.
We were totally blindsided by the proposal. We first heard it on the national news. There had been no consultation previously. It came as a shock to everybody. My initial reaction was, I think they must mean Adlington in Lancashire, because surely it's not here.
But the locals are fighting back. They say their village couldn't cope with what's being proposed, and they'll do anything they can to stop it.
The infrastructure is very severely under capacity here because of the constraints of electricity, gas and water. It is only to cope with what is here now. It is not to allow 20,000 extra homes and the infrastructure needed for 20,000 homes. There is no proposed hospitals, schools, GP hubs, shops, car parks, entertainment centres, employment zones.
And the concerns don't stop there. Wildlife would lose habitats and face decimation. Pressure on roads and transport links would skyrocket. And several farms in the area would be lost forever. That includes Alex's. His land has been farmed by his family for generations.
It's really important that we protect the green belt and our farms, because when it's gone, it's lost forever. We all need to think about where our food comes from. We've got to put food security on the top of the agenda. We've all got to eat, haven't we? So to rely on imports with pressures in the world as they are at the moment just seems ridiculous, really.
With regular protests and backing from the local council and Labour MP, residents are hoping to have the plans completely scrapped. Speaking to GB News, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government said no locations have been decided for the new towns, but making sure local people have a say and community engagement will be at the heart of our New Towns programme. We are currently working to understand the impacts of potential new towns locations and have been clear our house building plans will not come at the expense of the environment. But with 11 other potential development sites across the country, these plans have national implications. Yet the residents of Adlington feel there's only one thing to blame.
I think if the finger of blame has to be pointed anywhere, it's towards corporate greed. Adlington is the only development on the list of 12 being put forward by one single landowner, and that all comes down to one company wanting to make money off destroying farmland, greenbelt and wildlife.
Sophie Reaper, GB News.
Well, we're joined now by the Head of Housing Research at the YIMBY Alliance, Kane Emerson. Kane, thanks indeed for joining us. Locals are very, very angry about this proposal for new homes.
Yeah, I'm sure that the locals that currently have homes are annoyed about new homes, but this is an opportunity for the thousands of young people and families across Cheshire to get a new home.
What about the claim that, in particular, in this location, that it was one developer, so there's one landowner or something who's doing this, so it's actually for profit mainly, and not really because of need? Do you buy that argument?
Well, a developer wouldn't develop land for housing if there are no customers at the end of that. So you have huge housing need in that bit of the world. You know, if you look at Macclesfield, which is quite nearby, Macclesfield has so many high-skilled, highly paid jobs for young workers. So it's vital that we have the homes locally for them, because this is one big planned site, and it being planned is great rather than piecemeal kind of taking away from the greenbelt. This is like a planned development where there's good infrastructure being put in place by a large developer.
This, of course, was the government's big plan. 12 of these new towns that are going to be built across the country. Wouldn't it have been better for the government to have announced where these things were going to be before the election? And then people would have been able to have some... There would have been some democratic legitimacy to it. I remember asking the government, or the then opposition, where are the new towns going to be? Where are the new towns going to be? And they said, we'll only announce that after we're elected.
Well, it was no secret that the Labour Party, when they were in opposition, planned to build 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament. So the house building drive that they have was no secret going into the election. And they had said that they were intending to build new towns. Of course, there are reasons why you don't announce the sites before you choose them, because it'll drive up land values, because developers and landowners will try and charge the highest that they can. So it was pretty fair that the government announced that they're going to do new towns, they're going to build 1.5, but they hadn't announced the locations. I think that was appropriate.
All right, thank you very much, Kane Emerson. He's Head of Housing Research at YIMBY Alliance. Thank you very much. It's yes in my backyard. I wonder if it really would be yes, though, in his backyard.
Well,
didn't ask him.
No,
I
didn't
should have
ask.
done with them time.
Well, oh well. I'll have to get him back on. Now, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yes, including, well, we'll be going live to Downing Street, where GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, has just left the briefing with the Prime Minister's spokesperson. You don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, but before then, let's check up on the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello. It's been very wet across western areas of Europe as well as the UK. There is some dry weather on the way for this weekend. Before then, though, a few showers affecting the Canary Islands through Wednesday. Some very heavy rain still moving into parts of northern Portugal in particular. Much of Spain and France also seeing that wet weather. As we look further east, it's still unsettled through the Mediterranean, but some sunny spells here and there. But as I said, as we look towards the weekend, high pressure moves in to bring more of us some sunshine across Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. Right, let's go live to Downing Street, where GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, has just left a briefing with the Prime Minister's spokesperson. Christopher, what can you tell us?
OK, today's meeting wasn't a normal cabinet, Nana and Tom. It was a political cabinet. That means that people like Chris Wormold won't have been there. Now, he's interesting because he's reported to be on his way too. He is the most senior cabinet civil servant in the cabinet office in the government. He's reported to be the next person to take the jump after, of course, we saw Morgan McSweeney go on Sunday, and yesterday we saw Tim Allen resign. So it'll be the third official to go in 3 days as this government tries to work out what it's for, who it's trying to help. But there were some lines out from what the PM told his top team in the cabinet. He said that on the issue of Anna Sarwar is Labour's leader in Scotland. He thinks that the PM should move on and a new PM should come in. The PM said this, the whole of the Labour Party, apparently, wants Anna Sarwar to become First Minister and will fight for a Labour government in Scotland. Sir Keir Starmer also told his political cabinet they were strong and united. They said he's getting on with the task in hand and driving down the cost of living. The PM highlighted the ways the government was trying to do this. We know the script now: 6 interest rate cuts, lower mortgage costs for families, and the government will continue its relentless focus on the priorities of British people. So an attempt to pull together the cabinet after an extraordinary 24 hours when they frankly looked into the abyss and decided not to force the PM out. Elsewhere, we heard from the spokesman in the briefing just now on the issue of the class system raised today by Ed Miliband, talking about almost a battle on class lines in an interview he gave, not to GB News, because he won't come on GB News, but to a different broadcaster, on this issue of whether we're engaging into a class war. The government says that the PM is determined to work for everyone in the country so they are better off by spreading opportunities that gives a fair chance to get on. And on Wes Streeting, who published his WhatsApp messages with Peter Mandelson yesterday, the government didn't go as far as say don't do it, but they did say we're working with the Met on this, and we have the Met statement. The Met police, of course, are saying don't publish any more information on your WhatsApps to cabinet ministers. It might jeopardise any prosecution of Peter Mandelson.
Strange. Sorry if this sounds a bit like Kremlinology, Chopper. But Chris Wormold, he won't be a household name. He's the Cabinet Secretary, one of the most important civil servants in the country. And there was reporting that he was trying desperately to resign, to negotiate an exit. I mean, what on earth is going on there? Because, of course, one of the previous top honchos in government, Dominic Cummings, has never had a good word to say about him, said he was one of the most useless people in the government during COVID, and advised people to invest in hedge funds that shorted government actions when he was appointed Cabinet Secretary.
Yes, we have nothing on Chris Wormold. He is the Cabinet Secretary, the most important civil servant in all of where I am now in Whitehall. It looks like he's on the move. It's one of those ones where you can smell the body but can't see the corpse at the moment. I mean, it feels like he's going. It's reported he's going, but no one in government will confirm he's gone. So we're waiting to see the reports. He's gone yesterday. That's not confirmed in a briefing just now. The PM spokesman. He may be in talks about some form of settlement, some form of golden goodbye. He's a long-serving civil servant. He was at the Department for Education for a long period. He has done his time in public service. There have been critics. You mentioned Dominic Cummings, others too, who think he's slightly, could be more dynamic as a leader. But it looks like he's on his way, and this really is the government trying to reshape itself behind the scenes, below decks, in the engine room, to try and start delivering, frankly, on the poop deck, and that's failed to happen so far, and that's what the government's trying to get behind. That's what Keir Starmer's up to.
Well, also, Andy Burnham, who's currently speaking, he has backed the Prime Minister as well.
Yes, he's kind of got to. I mean, there's been lots of critics here of Anna Sarwar, why he's done this. I think, to me, it's obvious. He cut the PM adrift yesterday. The PM is tanking in the polls. He's the most unpopular Prime Minister for decades. He's trying to win an election in May, and in Scotland it's a different political environment. London is mistrusted all the time or a lot of the time by Scots, and he simply cut loose a dead anchor who was maybe holding him back in the polls. He can now say he's not like London Labour, he's Scottish Labour, and that's really almost a last desperate attempt to try and rein back in the SNP and beat them in that May elections. It's 12 weeks away. It's worth a shot, I think.
I think there are plenty of council leaders in England, even in London, who'd also like to cut adrift the Prime Minister, but unlikely now.
Well, it's
Christopher,
I think
we're running out of time, so we...
Tom,
go on then, Chris, quickly.
I'll just very briefly on that, Tom and Nana. We'll be looking very closely at leaflets going into the May local elections. Who has got Keir Starmer on them? Who hasn't? Right. I'll leave you to make it your own
All right, Christopher.
Fascinating.
Thank you very much. I love that. Smell the body, but can't find the copes, and dead anchor. These are all great. Christopher Hope, brilliant stuff.
Well, we will be talking more to Christopher Hope in just a few minutes' time. Do stay with us here on GB News. But before we get to all that greater crisis for this government, let's take a quick look at the weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Lots of cloud around today and also lots of rain, with some of that rain falling as hill snow over parts of Scotland, particularly later on. We do have an area of low pressure to the west of the UK, and that's bringing a frontal system up from the southwest. We'll see stronger winds in the southwest later on, and we do have some brisk winds towards the northeast through today as well. Otherwise, the main talking point is all that cloud and all that rain, quite wet across much of northern England, particularly towards the east and across much of Scotland as well. Another swathe of heavy rain coming in from the southwest as that front pushes its way in. Temperatures for many, well, particularly towards the south on the mild side, highs of around 13, possibly 14 Celsius. Further north, a few degrees lower than this, but around average for the time of year. As we go into this evening, we continue with quite a wet picture across particularly eastern parts of Scotland. That rain continuing to build up, so we could see some issues, some flooding, some travel disruption, and also readily seeing that rain falling as snow over the higher ground of parts of Scotland as well. Also quite a wet end to the day across much of northern England, Northern Ireland, and really, well, much of the rest of England and Wales. There are just a few places perhaps towards some parts of eastern England, East Anglia, where there could be some drier, clearer weather, and a drier slot for a time further west as well, but for many, it is just going to stay often cloudy and often quite wet. And that's the theme that we take through the night as well. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, more rain to come, more hill snow over parts of Scotland. Because of the cloud and the rain, well, temperatures aren't going to drop a huge amount. Mid-single figures for many in the north. Some places towards the south could stay in double digits. So we get off to a mild start tomorrow, but also a cloudy and wet one. Further rain, some murkiness as well. In places could be some fog, particularly towards the east. The rain over eastern Scotland, that continues, so could cause some further issues. Elsewhere, it's looking damp for many, but something a bit brighter, but also a bit showery developing in the south as we go through the afternoon. Temperatures similar to today. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
This may get you a little bit angry. Not that Alton Towers has cracked down on visitors with ADHD and anxiety for using disability fast lane passes, but the fact that they were around in the first place.
They say that demand for the Q-skip passes has surged. Well, not surprising.
No, well, the move comes as obviously we're seeing more diagnoses of ADHD and people claiming, you know, crippling anxiety. Well, not even crippling anxiety, actually, because that's a different matter, but, claiming anxiety. The medication for ADHD has more than doubled since 2015, though it is worth pointing out for those people who really do have ADHD that getting hold of the medication is nigh on impossible at the moment.
I think queue jumping is not the right word. This is about making a reasonable adjustment to help people feel more comfortable, to allow them to access areas and also parts of society that they may not otherwise be able to access. And I like to think that people don't do this to lie or to get ahead. I think they genuinely do need it. And I don't think we will be questioning this as much if it was a physical disability that we could see.
Alton Towers is a well-run commercial business, so I'll say something for them which they won't say because they look after their customers. But they've become aware that some people are gaming the system. And so they haven't banned people with anxiety. They've just tightened up the rules, number of people who can go with them and the border at which somebody can be accepted as having anxiety. Now, the problem is, let's get to the core issue. Anxiety is the modern day equivalent of, doctor, I've got a bad back, OK? You can get signed off with anxiety by just talking to a doctor down a Zoom screen for a few minutes and you're off.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 10th of February. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Now, crisis at number 10, crisis for Sir Keir Starmer. But for some, it's crisis what crisis?
He withstands pressure really well. In fact, he sort of thrives off pressure. The resounding sound of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Labour parliamentarians united in support of our Prime Minister. The whole Cabinet supports the Prime Minister.
Sir Keir Starmer clings on to his job by a thread. The Cabinet stand by him after a crunch meeting in Parliament, though some say that they are sharpening their knives.
Sir Keir Starmer tells his top team they are all strong and united a day after his premiership almost ended. Well, how long will this peace last?
If you have to say you're strong, perhaps you're not. Well, Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham backs the Prime Minister as he calls for stability within the country.
To do that requires stability, and I make my own call for that today across the Labour Party.
Where the King makes an unprecedented statement expressing his profound concern after police confirmed their investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for suspected misconduct in public office.
Prince William, meanwhile, continues his official visit to Saudi Arabia after releasing his own statement alongside Princess Catherine expressing their deep concern at the revelations concerning their Uncle Andrew.
A debating society at a Welsh university have refused a request by the Reform Party to hold a Q&A session with students due to its so-called zero-tolerance hate policy. Is free speech under attack on campuses?
The government stands accused of protecting one of the ugliest buildings in Britain, as London's brutalist South Bank Centre is handed statutory heritage protection after a 35-year campaign. But should we be saddling the country with concrete monstrosities in perpetuity?
The South Bank. I was actually going past that building the other day and I was driving and I thought, oh, this is great.
It's a concrete
interesting.
box.
But it's sort of quite interesting. It's quite angular with all little bits and pieces around it. It's quite nice.
What I find remarkable is that whenever there are what are called visual preference surveys done of the public, you usually get about 10 to 15% of people who like brutalist buildings. And everyone else doesn't. And I just think that when it comes to public architecture, it's not something like private art that you have in your own house. Everyone can have their own taste. That's fine, because not everyone has to look at it. But when it's a building, especially a building on the Thames, pride of place, just because everyone has to look at it. It should carry as much consent as possible.
I think you're wrong there. It looks different, and I think sometimes when you've got things that look different, they're actually quite nice. It's got an interesting
pile of poo
line
would look
to it.
different.
Yes, very good, Tom. Very good. I'm sure it would, but it wouldn't be as concrete, would it?
Although I have to say, Edinburgh has created a hotel that has a swirly. It looks like a dog turd. This new hotel in the centre of Edinburgh. But the South Bank Centre was built in the 1960s when it seems like Britain was going through a peculiar moment where everyone suddenly lost all of their taste.
No.
And just look at it.
It's a cross between.
Look at that.
It's sort of a progression from Art Deco as it moved into a modernism sort of era. Do you know what I mean?
It's an ugly era.
No, it wasn't. I quite like the angular, the square structures, the sharpness of the edges, all the little curvy bit at the top.
It's a concrete box of decline. If the Victorians were building a centre for the arts, it would look like the British Museum. It would have pillars and pediments and statues, or it would be a Gothic mega palace, and it would be ornate, and people would come around the world to see it, as they do the Houses of Parliament.
People come around the world.
No one goes to London to look at a concrete box.
People come to London for this famous South Bank, and they come and they walk along the bit. It's so nice down there. Listen,
tourists take their pictures outside Big Ben. They don't take their pictures outside the South Bank
Anybody
Centre.
who hasn't been to the South Bank, if you up north or somewhere else where you maybe have not been there, it's such a lovely walk along the Thames and all that. It's wonderful. Listen, what do you think? Your thoughts, your comments.
The South Bank itself, nice. The centre, bad.
No, gbnews.com/your say, or scan the QR code first. Your latest news headlines.
Thank you. The top stories. Andy Burnham has said he supports the Prime Minister by saying they need to be on the same page. Sir Keir Starmer has thanked his strong and united cabinet for their support after his position came under pressure yesterday. During a crunch meeting, Sir Keir Starmer declared, "I'm not prepared to walk away." Cabinet ministers have rallied around the Prime Minister as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador, including the Labour First Minister of Wales, Eleanor Morgan, who says, "I support the Prime Minister in the job he was elected to do." Well, Sir Keir Starmer also says the whole of the Labour Party wants Anas Sarwar to become First Minister in Scotland. That's after Mr Sarwar called on the Starmer to resign. Kemi Badenoch claims some Labour MPs had given the Tories indications that they would back a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister, adding it's a matter of time until he's gone.
It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes, because we are still waiting for the release of those documents which he committed to releasing last week. We still haven't seen the details of how he made this disastrous appointment. And instead, what we're hearing is that the Cabinet Office is telling ministers not to release their text messages with Peter Mandelson. That's completely wrong.
Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, a palace spokesman saying the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at all allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. Thames Valley Police has said it's assessing claims that Andrew shared confidential documents with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, while the former Duke served as UK trade envoy. Andrew denies any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. A skilled butcher has been found guilty of murdering her partner before cutting her body in two and burying her remains in the back garden of a house more than 15 years ago. Isabella Zablocker was first reported missing in 2010 and her remains were found buried in Princes Street in Derby on the 1st of June last year. The discovery came after Derby Crown Court heard 40-year-old Anna Poddard-Warner contacted Derbyshire Police last year, telling them the body would be found there. Prosecutors said mounting pressure caused her to crack and emailed the police last year when a Polish television journalist flew to the UK to interview her. She'll be sentenced tomorrow. Elsewhere, French authorities have rescued 66 small boat migrants after their engines stopped working in the English Channel. The incident reportedly happened on Sunday night off the coast of Pas-de-Calais. It comes after an inquiry into the deadliest channel crossing on record said small boat crossings must end to prevent further deaths. The tragedy occurred when a crowded inflatable boat capsized overnight in November of 2021, leaving just 2 survivors who were discovered in French waters nearly 12 hours after the first calls for help. Home Office figures show 1,208 people have successfully crossed the Channel so far this year. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted former girlfriend of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has appeared in front of the US House Oversight Committee via video link. Maxwell refused to answer any questions, but her lawyer did confirm she's prepared to speak fully and honestly if she's granted clemency. He went on to say that she's willing to explain that both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
And 18-year-olds will soon be permitted to drive trains following concerns about the number of drivers approaching retirement. Legislation to lower the minimum age limit from 20 to 18 will be brought before Parliament this week, with the change due to come into effect from the 30th of June. The move comes amid fears over a potential upcoming driver shortfall, with a quarter of train drivers expected to reach retirement age by 2030. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Now, of course, more breaking news just in. Andy Burnham has backed the Prime Minister as Sir Keir Starmer continues to fight for his survival.
To do that requires stability, and I make my own call for that today across the Labour Party.
Now, of course, what we don't know is if the hostage takers were standing just outside of shot making him read that. But in a meeting with Labour MPs yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer addressed the growing Manderson scandal fallout as his cabinet belatedly rallied behind him.
But Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch says that it's a matter of time before the Prime Minister goes.
It's quite clear that the Labour Party have lost confidence in Keir Starmer. Anna Sarwar said the quiet bit out loud. And what he's done is remind Labour MPs that their jobs are on the line. And instead of them doing the right thing, what they've done is rally behind the Prime Minister because they're terrified of their own jobs. It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes.
The eagle-eyed and those of you with good taste will have noticed that the Leader of the Opposition there was standing in a McDonald's as she made that statement. Now, it all comes amid claims that the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is plotting against Sir Keir Starmer.
So has the Prime Minister weathered the storm, or is there worse still to come?
Well, let's go straight to Downing Street. Our political editor, Christopher Hope, is there for us. Christopher, it feels like perhaps we're in the eye of the storm as things stand.
Yes, it feels calm, doesn't it, in the eye of the storm. It feels like the PM has got past that moment yesterday. But I was saying all the time on air to you on GB News, Tom and Nana, what held him in place, I think, is the lack of any clear candidate to replace him, who was acceptable to other parts of the Labour Party. Wes Streeting, not trusted by a lot of Labour MPs for their various reasons, has connections to Peter Mandelson, has now traduced Rachel Reeves' economic strategy, according to her WhatsApp messages disclosed that he disclosed yesterday with him, between him and Peter Mandelson. Angela Rayner, she fell short of the ministerial code standard last September, 5 months ago. Why couldn't she possibly be Prime Minister now? Ed Miliband, rejected in 2015, and in fact says he doesn't want the job. Well, he does say that for currently. So I think he is over the risky period. There was a meeting of the so-called political cabinet, the group of senior cabinet ministers around the PM, not the full cabinet, the political cabinet, but the key political players. In that meeting, the PM said, maybe surprisingly, that the whole of the Labour Party wants Anna Sarwar to become First Minister and will fight for a Labour government in Scotland. The whole of the party must mean he himself, even though Anna Sarwar wants him to be replaced. Of course, as we know, yesterday that triggered that crisis nearly 24 hours exactly ago today. He also told his team they were strong and united. Well, many would dispute that, given what's being said in private by many of these cabinet ministers. But he highlighted the way ministers are delivering what he says change for the country, investing in local communities and so forth, through Pride and Place of that speech in Hastings last week when he talked about it. And he says their policies have led to economic stability and led to 6 interest rate cuts and lower mortgage costs for families, and his focus is relentlessly on cost of living. I should say, we haven't yet heard from Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, in public since last Thursday, and given what's happened, he's now shed his Director of Communications, Chief of Staff, and we think the Cabinet Secretary, Chris Wormold, is about to jump. It's odd, isn't it? He's basically trying to shore up his team around him, MPs around him also, and now even Andy Burnham stepping in to try and face the country probably later this week, I would imagine. While I've got you, there's been a development on his job security. Again, Ewan Steinbank, who's the MP for Falkirk, he has issued a statement today saying he supports Anna Sarwar, that the PM should now resign to allow for new leadership for our country and our party. The numbers of MPs on the record who say he should resign is slowly, but only slowly, creeping up. But there we have it, Ewan Steinbank, MP for Falkirk. There's a mini crisis going on amongst Scottish MPs down here in London. They're due to be meeting later today. What do? Do they say that they support Keir Starmer, or do they support Anna Sarwar? I should remind you there are 12 weeks left till the Scottish elections.
Why is it always Falkirk? Falkirk, of course, was the site of a by-election during the coalition era where there was alleged union skullduggery which led the Labour Party to change its internal leadership election system, and arguably that led to Jeremy Corbyn becoming leader of the Labour Party. And Falkirk, again, is at the centre of machinations around the leadership of the Labour Party. What is it about this Scottish town?
It's like a swing town, isn't it? One of those swing towns that affects the direction of policy at the end. Yeah.
We should definitely send someone Tony on to tell us all about Falkirk. I mean, yes, and no question, the one-member, one-vote reforms brought in by Ed Miliband in 2013-2014, that led directly to the election of Jeremy Corbyn as the Labour leader, who fought through 2 elections, losing both times.
Well, perhaps this is a sign. Thank you very much, Christopher Hope. That's GBNews' political editor, Christopher Hope.
Well, we're going to turn to our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, now, who's been in the room with Andy Burnham. Catherine, what can you tell us?
Yes, well, he must be wondering and pondering on what might have been. The Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, is here in Westminster, just around the corner from number 10 Downing Street. Of course, it's only a couple of weeks ago since he was blocked from standing in that critical by-election in Gorton and Denton, a by-election which he insists that Labour can win, but is clearly a 3-horse race between Labour, Reform and the Greens. He was here to talk about unsung Britain, about the bottom half of the population and what they need. But of course, all the questions were about Labour politics and does he support the Prime Minister. He said that yes, the Prime Minister has his support, and he said the Prime Minister had his support when he stood when he put himself forward to be a candidate in that by-election. Of course, the speculation is that if Andy Burnham had got back to Westminster in a future leadership challenge, he would rather have fancied the Prime Minister's job, but it's not happening at the moment. He said that everybody should dial down all the constant briefing. He said it was crowding out all the things that the government is trying to do, the important and good things, which he says the government is actually succeeding in doing. Not that you hear much about it or they get much credit for that. But also he set out a very radical vision. He said that root and branch reform of Whitehall and Westminster is needed. He said he's never said that we should ignore the bond markets. That was a supposed quote that was used against him in the last few months, but he said that you need to create the grounds to give investors confidence to invest in Britain. He's very good at speaking. He was absolutely mobbed afterwards. He's popular. The polls indicate that he's the only alternative to Keir Starmer that would give Labour a bump in the polls, but that is not an option. He was asked if he would rule out ever challenging and if Anna Sarwar was wrong to come out against the Prime Minister yesterday. He just batted it all away as noise and said that Labour should be getting on with helping people with the cost of living. But he must be wondering, what if? Of course, it looks like we'll never know.
Well, Catherine, from a very busy centre there in Westminster, we could hear just about everything that you were saying, but my goodness me, lots of voices around you as well. Clearly very busy there. Catherine Forster, thank you indeed for joining us.
Interesting. So he's admitted that he would have liked to potentially have gone for leadership, and he has denied that he ever said that he didn't care about the bond markets.
Isn't it? Yeah, he said that Britain is too in hoc to the bond markets. Technically, it's not I don't care about the bond markets, but I mean, make up your own mind. I wonder if Andrew Gwynn had resigned his seat instead of a few weeks ago, this week.
Oh, yeah.
Could Keir Starmer possibly have the authority to block Andy Burnham's current candidacy?
I don't
It's
think...
one of the big what-ifs.
Because he had a lot of power in that NEC committee, didn't he? And he even went to vote when he didn't have to actually go. And he made sure... And he's very, very good, Keir Starmer's very, very good at getting the room to close around him and agree with him. And that, I think, is his... He is, though. Every time
and
there's a
yet,
challenge...
if it happened this week, I think he wouldn't have had the same authority.
Yeah, this week, I agree. But unfortunately, somehow he's managed to weasel out of it.
Well, of course, that is all about the Gorton and Denton by-election, which is happening on the Thursday, the 26th of February. Well, the by-election was triggered, as we said, by the resignation of Andrew Gwynn.
So the candidates are the Conservatives. They announced Charlotte Cadden as their candidate. Hannah Spencer is the Green Party's candidate. Jackie Piercy has been announced for the Liberal Democrats. Matt Goodwin was announced for Reform UK.
Angeliki Stuggia is the Labour Party's candidate. Advance UK have announced Nick Buckley. Sebastian Moore is the Social Democratic Party candidate. The Rejoin EU Party have announced Joseph O'Mearchair as their candidate. There's also Dan Clark from the Libertarian Party UK, Sir Winkelot from the Monster Raving Loony Party, and Hugo Wills is the candidate for the Communist League election campaign.
Well, there you go. Right, if you just tuned in, welcome on board. This is Good Afternoon Britain. It is fast approaching 20 minutes after 1 o'clock.
Now, the King has stated that Buckingham Palace is ready to support the police as they look at allegations regarding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
A palace spokesperson said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten Windsor's conduct.
Meanwhile, the Prince of Wales is in Riyadh for a historic trip aimed at strengthening UK and Saudi Arabia relations.
We're joined now by our national reporter Jack Carson, who got the lucky job of going out there. Jack Carson, are you enjoying yourself? Is it hot? Is it warm? We're jealous.
It's very warm indeed. We're here in Riyadh in the Royal Terminal before we board a flight to continue the Prince of Wales's engagements in another Saudi Arabian city. We know this is a packed 3 days, and we know the significance and importance that not only the Prince of Wales personally has in this trip, of course, deepening his relationship with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, but also for His Majesty's government wanting further investment and deeper diplomatic relationships here in the region. Today, in a packed day of engagements, the Prince of Wales took part in some women's football earlier on today. important to stress how much of a significant engagement that is. 6 years ago here in Saudi Arabia, that engagement wouldn't have been possible. Such has been the rapid social change, modernisation here in the country over the past few years. Took part in a kickabout with some of the girls, shook their hands, asked them all about their own enjoyment of football, which is one of the biggest sports here in Saudi Arabia. Of course, himself a patron of the Football Association here in the United Kingdom, taking some penalties. But as he left, Prince William was asked about the continuing revelations that we're seeing around the former Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Sir, to what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue?
You can hear no clear answer from Prince William there. Unsure whether he heard the question with how far away it was when that question was asked. And aides to William have stressed that he's got a job to do out here in Saudi Arabia, and he's getting on and doing it. Other engagements today, from physical football to something a bit more virtual. He's taken part in an esports tournament today, unfortunately losing 3-2 in that tournament. But it's one of the rapid growing commercial industries here in Saudi Arabia. Very much this country considers itself the home of esports, and taking part in that tournament, he's very much seeing the future. Of course, we know how much of an importance he places on environmentality, sustainability, and that's exactly what some of the engagements here in Saudi Arabia have been.
Well, Jack Carson, thanks indeed for going out there for us, for slogging it in the Royal Terminal in Riyadh.
You poor thing. You can come when you get back here. We'll help you to cool down.
To be fair, Jack does often get sent to a fly tipping site or the largest rubbish dump in Britain. So I think it's about time he goes to the Royal Terminal in Riyadh.
You're lucky, Jack. But listen, if you just tuned in, welcome. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, Emmanuel Macron's government is sending letters to all 29-year-old French citizens, encouraging them to have babies while they still can. We'll be joined by one new mum who says we need similar here in Britain. But after the break.
The King makes an unprecedented statement expressing his profound concern after police confirmed their investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the suspected misconduct in public office.
All that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdley, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past 1. Now the King has signalled he is ready to support police investigating claims linked to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, authorising palace officials to assist if asked.
Buckingham Palace says that the King has expressed profound concern over the allegations and has reiterated his support for the victims.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is the royal commentator Jack Stooks. How unprecedented is this, Jack?
Well, as we've seen with the king so far, nothing has actually been said until now. Now, this is coming from the palace. It hasn't been a report that actually said this is what the king is specifically saying. It hasn't come off of his desk with his wording saying signed King Charles III. And I think that is probably what we need to see right now, because we've had William and Kate's word coming from the palace saying pretty much the same, that they're appalled. But we're now seeing all of these reports, and we're seeing things coming in that the royal family are now being heckled wherever they go, and it is starting to diminish what they're doing. So, for the king, I think, to come out and just say, look, this is where we are actually standing with this. We do not have any association with not Prince Andrew, but Andrew. We no longer have any association with him. We've never had any association with what's been going on. We're shocked and appalled, and we are working with the police. Not we will if they ask us.
Well, the thing is, though, you say he gets heckled a lot, but isn't it just one guy from that Republic group that hate the monarchy, and he just keeps shouting out stuff, and then that thing goes viral? It doesn't really get that badly heckled. It's only, every now and again it seems to be that same group of people. But that aside, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is his brother. Yeah. So what you know what I mean? It's difficult to completely cast aside somebody who's a blood relative, even though they're doing something bad.
And Nana, I think the thing is as well, so far, Andrew hasn't been found guilty of any wrongdoing. Now, he's lied, and, he hasn't shown that he's a great person, shall we say. But he has been hidden away from the outside, well, all of us. He's been hidden up at Sandringham, and from reports coming from Sandringham, he's not really wanted there, and that's also tricky for the king, So they've sort of gone, what can we do with Andrew? Okay, I know what, let's send him up there, he's out the way, and then we can all get on with our lives while it's still being investigated. But I don't think this is helping the royal family, and it is hurting them, and I don't think that's a wise move. It's awful, because the king is a great person, and like you say, it is his brother.
His brother,
it is difficult, but to be able to say, look, I've spoken to my brother personally. I've told him this is what we need to happen. We need you to go to America. We need you to answer and be answered to, and that way, he's actually said, right, this is my stance. This is how I am. Yes, you're my brother. Yes, I love you. But at the same time, you need to be held account for what's gone on and answer questions.
Well, of course, the king had a grandfather who had a troublesome brother. The troublesome brother went to live in just outside Paris, in France. Perhaps that would be a solution
Well,
here.
there's always a troublesome brother. I mean, look at Harry. Jack Stooks, we do have to leave it there, sadly. I could talk to you for a very long time on this, but it's really good to have your thoughts on it. That's Jack Stooks. He's a royal commentator.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Emmanuel Macron's government is sending letters to all 29-year-old French citizens, encouraging them to have babies whilst they still can. We'll be joined by one new mum who says we need similar here in Britain. Stay tuned.
Well, all of that and much more to come after your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. The Labour First Minister of Wales, Eluned Morgan, has publicly backed Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, saying, "I support the Prime Minister in the job he was elected to do." The Prime Minister has today chaired a cabinet meeting after earning a lifeline from Labour MPs during a crunch meeting in which he declared, "I'm not prepared to walk away." Cabinet ministers have rallied around Sir Keir Starmer as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Lord Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador. Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. A palace spokesman said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. And French authorities have rescued 66 small boat migrants after their engine stopped working in the English Channel. The incident reportedly happened on Sunday night off the coast of Pas-de-Calais. It comes after an inquiry into the deadliest channel crossings on record said small boat crossings must end to prevent further deaths. Those are the latest headlines. More at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Tatiana. Lots more coming up on today's show.
A debating society at a Welsh university has refused a request from the Reform Party to hold a Q&A session with students due to its so-called zero-tolerance hate policy. It's free speech under attack on our campuses.
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, still Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Lots of cloud around today and also lots of rain, with some of that rain falling as hill snow over parts of Scotland, particularly later on. We do have an area of low pressure to the west of the UK, and that's bringing a frontal system up from the southwest. We'll see stronger winds in the southwest later on, and we do have some brisk winds towards the northeast through today as well. Otherwise, the main talking point is all that cloud and all that rain, quite wet across much of northern England, particularly towards the east and across much of Scotland as well. Another swathe of heavy rain coming in from the southwest as that front pushes its way in. Temperatures for many, well, particularly towards the south on the mild side, highs of around 13, possibly 14 Celsius. Further north, a few degrees lower than this, but around average for the time of year. As we go into this evening, we continue with quite a wet picture across particularly eastern parts of Scotland. That rain continuing to build up, so we could see some issues, some flooding, some travel disruption, and also readily seeing that rain falling as snow over the higher ground of parts of Scotland as well. Also quite a wet end to the day across much of northern England, Northern Ireland, and really, well, much of the rest of England and Wales. There are just a few places, perhaps towards some parts of eastern England, East Anglia, where there could be some drier, clearer weather, and a drier slot for a time further west as well, but for many, it is just going to stay often cloudy and often quite wet. And that's the theme that we take through the night as well. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, more rain to come, more hill snow over parts of Scotland. Because of the cloud and the rain, well, temperatures aren't going to drop a huge amount. Mid-single figures for many in the north. Some places towards the south could stay in double digits. So we get off to a mild start tomorrow, but also a cloudy and wet one. Further rain, some murkiness as well in places. Could be some fog, particularly towards the east. The rain over eastern Scotland, that continues, so could cause some further issues. Elsewhere, it's looking damp for many, but something a bit brighter, but also a bit showery developing in the south as we go through the afternoon. Temperatures similar to today. Bye-bye.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. In Scotland, the A9 at Blair Atholl is restricted both ways due to planned maintenance. In Greater Manchester, the M67 eastbound between Junction 3 and Junction 4 is closed after a police incident, with traffic expected to settle between 2:45 and 3 this afternoon. Also, the A38 eastbound in Plymouth has one lane shut between the A374 and the A3121 following a crash, easing between 2:45 and 3. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has disruption and Gatwick Express delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 36 minutes past 1. Now, a Welsh University debating society has blocked the Reform Party from holding a Q&A event at their society.
Bangor University's Debating and Political Society said that it champions free speech and the clash of ideas. Really?
Well, we've always been at war with East Asia, haven't we? But the student union that runs it insists it has a zero tolerance for what it calls racism, transphobia or homophobia linked to the Reform Party members.
Really? Well, the party's head of policy, Zia Youssef, has hit back, condemning the decision and warned university funding could be cut if they win the general election.
So, should university societies be allowed to ban Reform UK? We're joined by the editor-contributor of Turn Left Media, Ben McLean, and the political commentator, Jack Anderton. Jack, we're going to start with you. I believe it was your letter that was so rudely rejected by this Bangor society.
That's correct, Tom. So I am doing a university tour, a national university tour across the country. So I've been to 6 universities so far. And Bangor was a university that we wanted to visit, myself and Sarah Pochin, the MP for Reform UK. And we politely reached out to the Politics and Debating Society at Bangor University. And they rudely declined and obviously called us, as you explained, racist, sexist, homophobic, and that we were hateful. And that myself and Sarah were not welcome on campus. So that's really what has happened in this situation, which is that 2 people who are fairly moderate in their politics and, you know, members and supporters of what is the leading political party in Britain have been sort of that were not welcome on university campuses in Bangor. And it's a really unfortunate situation.
Ben, it's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it, if they're saying that they are welcoming opposing views and clashing ideas, for them to then sort of say, well, we're not going to have you on because basically you're all a bunch of racists, which I don't think is fair. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I think that it would be fair to say it's a difficult situation, but I don't think it's fair to say it's a free speech issue. Like, Sarah and Jack are not being locked up for particular opinions they have, right? Free speech is not the same as the right to a platform. Like, I might want to have, you know, to have a slot on BBC Question Time on the panel. That'd be lovely. I'd love that. Most of us here probably would, right? But if they say no, that's not a violation of my free speech. That's just them refusing me a platform. And let's not forget, it was the debating society that said no, not the university itself.
I was going to say, sorry, Ben, just to interject, but you can come back on this. It's only because they've told them why they've refused them, because they said they're hate and they're this and they're that. So it's not because they're denying them a platform for no reason. Like, if you were going on Question Time, you might be denied a platform because they haven't got enough room. But they're specifically telling you that we think you're hateful, you're homophobic, you're all of these things, which is why you're not going on there.
Yeah, words hurt. I mean, you know, it's a bit like, get over it. Like, the point, though, is that it is about... You're making it about hurtful words, because clearly it's not a free speech issue.
OK, Ben, we've heard you. Let's let Jack back in.
I don't think Ben hadn't finished speaking, that was all. That was all.
No, it's all right.
Supposed to be a space where you can freely debate and discuss ideas, and that was really one of the original purposes for university. You know, Bangor University is a prestigious university. It's one of the oldest in Britain, and the fact that a debating society refuses to hold a debate. As I said, with one of the two figures in the leading political party in Britain, I think that is a free speech problem.
Jack, what do you make of the claim that this is separate from, for example, when a union society at a university invites a speaker and then there's a campaign from students to say, no, you must disinvite this speaker? This is slightly different. This is you asking to speak to these students and this group saying no. Do you see a distinction between those two particular situations?
I think there is a slight distinction, yes, but what I would say is that this is all this issue at Bangor is a wider theme and the wider context. So, for example, if you take my tour, I was protested when I went to York University. 400 people came out to protest me. They were marching in the street. Now, quite frankly, Tom, I'm a pretty minuscule figure. You know, I'm not a huge figure on the political scene. But the fact that 400 people came out to protest somebody who is supportive of the leading political party in Britain, I think that is very clear that on university campuses and with students in general, that there is a real problem of listening to alternative viewpoints.
That does seem to be the case. But what are they afraid of, Ben? Because exactly as Jack said, it's about listening to different viewpoints. parents, even if you thought they were homophobic or all those things, you would discuss, debate and explain to them why they're wrong.
Well, they can pretty much switch on to any mainstream media channel and hear the dry views of reform being repeated again and again ad nauseum. Like, they don't want to platform a party that wants to cut the minimum wage for young workers. You know, they don't like you. Get over it. It's not a free speech issue. And bear in mind, these are university students. They're not media trained. But you know who is media trained? Nigel Farage. And he's still running away from his debate with Zach Polanski. Zach Polanski's challenged him multiple times. It's like, pick on someone your own size rather than some poor students who just want to decide who they can debate with, which is their right. Surely they're running their own university, like debating society.
Yeah, but
they control it democratically. That's the way it should be.
But their ethos is that they're happy to have opposing views and clashes, which is one of the words that's used in there. So I just don't get what they're afraid of. If what Jack has to say is so bad, well, then you would surely listen to it and tell him that it's so bad. Why are you closing off the opportunity to hear something that you don't like to hear? If he's even going to tell you something you don't like to hear, you don't know.
Well, obviously, I don't. You know, personally, I don't have a problem with debating with Jack or anybody else from Reform. My point is that these university students are not media trained, and Jack presumably is, and so is Sarah Pochin.
I'm happy that you think I have.
But you're also very experienced. Like, a lot of these people are university students, 18, 19-year-olds who are like taking their first step into debating.
But that's how you get
ran a university
experience.
debating society.
But that's how you get experience. You listen to things that you don't agree with, you learn new things, and you gain new experiences. That's the whole word, experience. Experience.
So maybe Nigel Farage should gain the new experience.
Sorry, Jack, we'll come to you
debating
just a
with Zach
second.
Polanski.
Ben, finish your point.
Sorry, so maybe Nigel Farage could gain the new experience of debating with Zach Polanski, these national media figures, rather than us trying to police what a university debating society will and won't allow.
Okay, let's go back to Jack now.
So myself and Sarah were attending the university, or wanting to attend the university, in good faith. We are not there to sort of dunk on students or embarrass students. We were there to discuss perfectly reasonable political points and have a debate and a discussion with students. And as for the Zach Polanski Nigel Farage debate, Nigel Farage is on a whole other level to Zach Polanski, so I'm not sure it's necessary.
Spineless.
He's not. I don't
really
think that's
spineless.
fair to say he's spineless. Nigel Farage takes all the questions from the press, pretty much. Keir Starmer, doesn't even. Half of the Labour Party won't even come on GB News.
Although I think Nigel Farage knows from bitter experience that the person who succeeds in a debate is the challenger usually. When Nigel Farage debated Nick Clegg on LBC in 2014, that was the Deputy Prime Minister debating a guy leading a party with no MPs and a few hundred councillors. I mean, it did the world of good for Nigel Farage, his platform and all the rest of it. Perhaps he worries that could do the same with
who knows?
Polanski.
But this is a university. Students are there to learn, and that's to open their minds to different views. And if you shun people away because you think you know what they're going to say when you don't actually know, and some of the things you said actually were slightly wrong, Ben, then it's not really, nobody learns anything. Ben McLean, thank you very much. And also Jack Anderson, thank you. Anderton.
Yes, indeed. Well, a spokesperson for the University of Bangor said this.
The views expressed by societies are their own and do not reflect university policy. Bangor University remains politically neutral and supports freedom of speech.
Well, time for a brand new Great British giveaway now. Your chance to get summer sorted with a luxury £10,000 holiday for two. And that's not all. No, you'll also get £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on whatever you like, the holiday or anything else besides. Well, here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, is going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yeah, you won't want to miss this one. Emmanuel Macron's government is sending letters to all 29-year-old French citizens, encouraging them to have babies while they still can. We'll be joined by one new mum, who you might have heard of, who says that we need a similar plan here in Britain. Do stay tuned.
Yeah, that's if they're going to give you some money and help you out, but they don't, do you? But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. It's been very wet across western areas of Europe as well as the UK. There is some dry weather on the way for this weekend. Before then, though, a few showers affecting the Canary Islands through Wednesday. Some very heavy rain still moving into parts of northern Portugal in particular. Much of Spain and France also seeing that wet weather. As we look further east, it's still unsettled through the Mediterranean, but some sunny spells here and there. As I said, as we look towards the weekend, high pressure moves in to bring more of us some sunshine across Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Now, outraged pensioners are calling on the government to rule against this review to scrap Freeview TV. Now, that could plunge the most vulnerable into isolation and force millions to pay for expensive broadband contracts they simply don't want. Now, a petition has now amassed more than 100,000 signatures, and joining me now is the director of Silver Voices, Dennis Reed, who started this petition. Dennis, always a delight to have you on the show. It sincerely is, and it's not fair to get pensioners who just want to switch on their TV, and many of them do, to watch GB News. Thank you to all of them who are tuning in now on Freeview, to be expected to update. They don't want it. They don't want to go there. Why force them?
Well, absolutely. And it's not just the vulnerable and older people that are going to suffer here, Martin. It's all low-income people who can't afford to have the expensive broadband contract that will be needed if terrestrial TV is switched off. And everybody has to get broadband in order to see their favourite programmes, of course, including GB News. So yes, it is extremely important. Millions of people are sitting at home who may have internet TV at the moment, but they also have an aerial on the roof or in the loft, which if they couldn't afford that broadband contract, they could always fall back on and get Freeview TV. Now, the government's going to take a decision in the next few months, a very important decision, about whether to switch off those terrestrial signals. And that has major implications for the economy too, because emergency services rely on the same signal system. Radio relies on the same system.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon. Britain, 51 minutes after 1 o'clock. France is launching a bold new campaign urging 29-year-olds to think seriously about starting families sooner rather than later.
Well, ministers say falling birth rates are putting pressure on pensions and healthcare, with fewer young workers supporting an increasingly ageing population.
They also believe that earlier awareness could change demographic trends.
Well, joining us to discuss this is one new mum who might be known to some of you. It's the one and only Emily Carver.
Emily!
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Nana.
Good to see you. Good to see you in this time slot.
Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, you can have him back anytime soon, whenever you want. Emily, what's it like? You're a brand new mum. You support this notion, right?
Well, in a way, I'm not sure I would have appreciated receiving a letter from the government at the age of 29 telling me to crack on. I think that is a bit on the nose, a tad offensive, and I don't believe President Macron himself has any kids either of his own. So there is that, perhaps the wrong messenger. But I do think that there is a need to talk a little bit more about biological clocks, because there is quite a lot of negative press out there about motherhood. You see lots of influencers online talking about in their late 30s how there's no use having children. It's much better to travel the world. You don't want a little person dependent on you. Freedom is all you want. But then actually we do see that once women become a little bit older, they do crave a child. And unfortunately, we do have something called a biological clock. And unfortunately, fertility does get harder and harder. Men's fertility is an important thing to talk about as well. But I'm not sure framing this in terms of economics is probably the best way of doing it from the French government. I'm not sure many people in their 20s and 30s are thinking, well, I must have a child so that we can pay for pensions and the welfare state in the future. It should be about how amazing it is to have a child. Yes, it's absolutely exhausting. Nana, you'll know this too well.
Yes.
Waking up every hour of the night sometimes. The nappies, the changing, everything that goes with it, not being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, like you used to. But I think we should concentrate on the positives of having children and how it's an amazing thing.
I was going to say, you're selling this well,
But of course, people are having babies later and later, and some people are finding if they even wanted 2 or 3 babies, they wait too late, they're only able to have one perhaps when they would have liked more, they would have liked a larger family. And this is happening the world over, particularly in the Western world. I mean, do you think people are ready to hear this message?
Well, the thing is, you can look on Google and search fertility rates, and you can understand that after a certain age, your fertility is going to go down. So people do have this information available to them. I think people are starting their lives, their adulthood, later and later, with university, schooling.
Well, they can't afford it.
Postgraduate degrees, living at home for longer and longer, not meeting a partner. Men need to step up to the plate as well and be better partners so that women feel comfortable bringing children into the world.
Yeah. Well, listen, Emily, you know the coup. I know the coup. A lot of people don't. Good luck with that on getting people to have kids earlier. Thank you, Emily Carver. Look forward to seeing you soon. Good afternoon, Britain. Loads more coming up after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Lots of cloud around today and also lots of rain, with some of that rain falling as hill snow over parts of Scotland, particularly later on. We do have an area of low pressure to the west of the UK, and that's bringing a frontal system up from the southwest. We'll see stronger winds in the southwest later on, and we do have some brisk winds towards the northeast through today as well. Otherwise, the main talking point is all that cloud and all that rain, quite wet across much of northern England, particularly towards the east and across much of Scotland as well. Another swathe of heavy rain coming in from the southwest as that front pushes its way in. Temperatures for many, well, particularly towards the south on the mild side, highs of around 13, possibly 14 Celsius. Further north, a few degrees lower than this, but around average for the time of year. As we go into this evening, we continue with quite a wet picture across particularly eastern parts of Scotland. That rain continuing to build up, so we could see some issues, some flooding, some travel disruption, and also readily seeing that rain falling as snow over the higher ground of parts of Scotland as well. Also quite a wet end to the day across much of northern England, Northern Ireland, and really, well, much of the rest of England and Wales. There are just a few places, perhaps towards some parts of eastern England, East Anglia, where there could be some drier, clearer weather, and a drier slot for a time further west as well. But for many, it is just going to stay often cloudy and often quite wet. And that's the theme that we take through the night as well. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, more rain to come, more hill snow over parts of Scotland. Because of the cloud and the rain, well, temperatures aren't going to drop a huge amount. Mid-single figures for many in the north. Some places towards the south could stay in double digits. So we get off to a mild start tomorrow, but also a cloudy and wet one. Further rain, some murkiness as well in places. Could be some fog, particularly towards the east. The rain over eastern Scotland, that continues, so could cause some further issues. Elsewhere, it's looking damp for many, but something a bit brighter, but also a bit showery developing in the south as we go through the afternoon. Temperatures similar to today. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello, everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 10th of February. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua. Crisis at number 10. Crisis for Sir Keir Starmer, but for some, it's crisis. What crisis?
He withstands pressure really well. In fact, he sort of thrives off pressure. The resounding sound of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Labour parliamentarians united in support of our Prime Minister. the whole cabinet supports the Prime Minister.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer clings onto his job by a thread, but the cabinet stands around him after that crunch meeting in Parliament are some behind the scenes sharpening their knives.
Sir Keir Starmer tells his team they are strong and united after a day when his premiership nearly collapsed. But how long will this confidence last?
Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham backs the Prime Minister as he calls for stability within the country.
To do that requires stability, and I make my own call for that today across the Labour Party.
Yes, the so-called King of the North, Andy Burnham, has ventured down to Westminster today. He says he backs the Prime Minister and calls for stability, but says that being more inclusive might be helpful. What on earth might he mean?
Now, prison inspectors on one of the first one-in, one-out deportation flights to France have revealed that there were scuffles. Security guards fell asleep and migrants left the country in flip-flops. Stay tuned for the astonishing details.
And the government stands accused of protecting one of the ugliest buildings in Britain as London's brutalist South Bank Centre is handed statutory heritage protection after a 35-year campaign. But should we be saddling the country with concrete monstrosities in perpetuity?
Well, the Prime Minister has lived to fight another day, but it does seem that he's not so secure in his job. In fact, you know how yesterday, Nana?
Yeah.
During the programme live, we made a little Keir cabbage just to see how long he would last. Oh no, I'll just keep him there. During the show, of course, he started out with no eyes at all, and then we got him some eyes. We got him some glasses provided by Lord Arley, of course.
Of course, yes, really.
And
a cup. He got a cup to sit in as well. Before he was just on a roll of sellotape, wasn't he?
He's looking OK for now, the cabbage.
But look at the back of his head.
Oh, some slight browning. That'll be the Wes Streeting almost...
The wounds. Turn it around a bit more.
Yeah. No, you can see some wounds here from Anasawa. But the question is, will the cabbage outlive the Prime Minister? How long do cabbages last, Nana?
Oh, they can last some time. That's the thing. They cling on, they do.
Yeah?
I mean, you know...
More or less than a Prime Minister?
I think they basically last longer than lettuces, really. So I'm thinking that Keir Starmer's looked at that and thought, oh, great, they've used a cabbage. Glad they didn't use a lettuce. So, yeah.
We like the alliteration.
Yes, we do like the Keir cabbage.
Yeah, well, do send your thoughts. How long might the Prime Minister last in your mind? gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in that conversation.
But first, let's get you up to date with your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories this hour. Andy Burnham has said he supports the Prime Minister. He said he spoke to Sir Keir Starmer about the Labour Party needing a strong sense of a stronger team again, as he called for briefings to be dialed down.
To do that requires stability, and I make my own call for that today across the Labour Party.
Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer has thanked his strong and united cabinet for their support after his position came under pressure yesterday. During a crunch meeting, Sir Keir Starmer declared, "I'm not prepared to walk away." Cabinet ministers have rallied around the Prime Minister as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador, including the Labour First Minister of Wales, Eleanor Morgan, who says, "I support him in the job he was elected to do." The Prime Minister also says the whole of the Labour Party wants Anasawa to become First Minister in Scotland. That's after Sawa called on Starmer to resign. Kemi Badenoch claims some Labour MPs had given us indications that they'd back a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister, adding it's a matter of time until he's gone.
It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes, because we are still waiting for the release of those documents which he committed to releasing last week. We still haven't seen the details of how he made this disastrous appointment. And instead, what we're hearing is that the Cabinet Office is telling ministers not to release their text messages with Peter Mandelson. That's completely wrong.
Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. The palace spokesman said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. Thames Valley Police has said it's assessing claims that Andrew shared confidential documents with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, while the former Duke served as UK trade envoy. Andrew denies any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. A turkey butcher who killed her girlfriend and cut her in half before burying her in a garden more than 15 years ago has been found guilty of murder. Isabella Zablocka was first reported missing in 2010 and her remains were found buried in Princes Street in Derby on the 1st of June last year. The discovery came after Derby Crown Court heard 40-year-old Anna Podded-Warner contacted Derbyshire Police last year, telling them the body would be found there. Prosecutors said mounting pressure caused her to crack, and she emailed the police last year when a Polish television journalist flew to the UK to interview her. She'll be sentenced tomorrow. French authorities have rescued 66 small boat migrants after their engine stopped working in the English Channel. The incident reportedly happened on Sunday night off the coast of Pas-de-Calais. Comes after an inquiry into the deadliest channel crossings on record said small boat crossings must end to prevent further deaths. The tragedy occurred when a crowded inflatable boat capsized overnight in November of 2021, leaving just 2 survivors who were discovered in French waters nearly 12 hours after the first calls for help. Home Office figures show 1,208 people have successfully crossed the Channel so far this year. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted former girlfriend of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has appeared in front of the US House Oversight Committee via video link. Maxwell refused to answer questions, but her lawyer did confirm she's prepared to speak fully and honestly if she's granted clemency. He went on to say that she's willing to explain that both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
18-year-olds will soon be permitted to drive trains following concerns about the number of drivers approaching retirement. Legislation to lower the minimum age limit from 20 to 18 will be brought before Parliament this week, with the change due to come into effect from the 30th of June. The move comes amid fears over a potential upcoming driver shortfall, with a quarter of train drivers expected to reach retirement age by 2030. And the British Museum has successfully raised £3.5 million to keep a gold pendant linked to King Henry VIII's marriage to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. The Central London Museum launched a fundraising appeal in October so it could permanently acquire the Tudor heart found by a metal detectorist in a Warwickshire field in 2019. It has now announced that it reached its fundraising goal after receiving £360,000 in public donations and a string of donations from grants, trusts and arts organisations. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a snapshot of the market as the pound will buy you $1.3671 and €1.1474 euros. The price of gold is £3,687 and 75 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,333 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 9 minutes past 2. Now, the Prime Minister has been backed by Andy Burnham as he continues to fight for his political survival.
To do that requires stability, and I make my own call for that today across the Labour Party.
In a meeting with Labour MPs yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer addressed the growing Mandelson scandal fallout as his cabinet rallied behind him.
But the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, says it's a matter of time before the Prime Minister goes.
It's quite clear that the Labour Party have lost confidence in Keir Starmer. Anna Sarwar said the quiet bit out loud. And what he's done is remind Labour MPs that their jobs are on the line. And instead of them doing the right thing, what they've done is rally behind the Prime Minister because they're terrified of their own jobs. It is still a matter of when, not if, the Prime Minister goes.
So has the Prime Minister weathered the storm, or is there worse still to come?
And why is Kemi Badenoch in a McDonald's? Well, with the answers to at least one of those two questions is our political editor, Christopher Hope. Christopher, it's a difficult time for the government.
It really is. It's better than it was yesterday. This time yesterday, we had, of course, we were looking into that speech by Anna Sarwar, the Scottish Labour leader, saying it's time for a change, and he invited other cabinet ministers to do the same, or at least to support him or not. And for bad news for him was they all supported Sir Keir Starmer, including those who aren't in the cabinet but are senior figures, like notably Angela Rayner, of course, the former deputy leader, deputy prime minister. So he got through that. He's been with his cabinet, his political cabinet. Today, he said in terms that we are united. He has told them that we are a united government. He says a united team, driving forward, bringing down the cost of living. He says he's highlighted the way they're trying to get the basics right in this government, deal with the cost of living, send ministers out to talk about the pride in place, that spending more money at local level, restoring economic stability, taking credit, he says, for 6 interest rate cuts and lower mortgage costs for families. Interestingly, he said in this meeting this morning in the building behind me, number 10 Downing Street, he said that the whole of the Labour Party wants Anna Sarwar to become First Minister, replacing, of course, the Scottish leader John Swinney, and fight for a Labour government in Scotland. The whole of the Labour Party, he says, must include himself, despite the fact that Anna Sarwar thinks that Keir Starmer isn't up for the job. There's been more developments today from the Scottish Labour. Ewan Steinbank, the MP for Falkirk, he's an MP down here in Westminster. He's come out in favour of Anna Sarwar, saying that he agrees with what he said. The PM should resign to allow for new leadership for our party and our country. So slowly but slowly, the names of MPs who want the PM to go is ticking up. A note is being kept. When you get towards 80 or 81, that'll be the trigger for another crisis, probably for Sir Keir Starmer. By then, he'll hope that the economy is doing better. People feel better, people feel Labour's delivering for them. But you heard there from Andy Burnham, he spoke, of course, the Greater Manchester Mayor. He's been banned from fighting in this upcoming by-election, and he said, of course, he now supports Sir Keir Starmer. So for now, he lives to fight for another day. But question is, for how long?
Christopher Hope, thank you very much. Right, well, we're now joined by Labour MP for North Durham, Luke Akehurst. Luke, welcome to the programme. Now, Luke, it seems that a lot of MPs are now rallying behind Sir Keir Starmer. How likely do you think it is that Keir Starmer will be able to hold on to his job as Prime Minister and remain Prime Minister up till the end of the year at least?
So yesterday was to publicly demonstrate at the PLP meeting where Keir's speech went down very well, publicly demonstrated what people like me inside the PLP had always known, that a big silent majority of Labour MPs back the PM and really want stability. And actually, it's a kind of small number of people that go and give kind of hot takes on social media or the media, but it's always the same names that have rebelled on loads of policy stuff, most of whom never really wanted Keir Starmer to be leader of the Labour Party anyway. But it's never going to get to 80, not least because the people on the left of the Labour Party that make a lot of noise, they're not going to nominate Wes Streeting, for instance, because they have totally different politics to him.
Well, isn't this interesting? Because I'm not sure that Keir Starmer does have particularly well-defined politics. Luke, you're from a particular side of the Labour Party, a side of the Labour Party that's been associated with people like Morgan McSweeney, who's now been kicked out. And I couldn't help notice that Ed Miliband, on the media round this morning, kept trying to sort of redefine the mission of Keir Starmer's government. He was saying what Keir really cares about is the class divide in this country, moving on the conversation from growth. I wonder, Luke, given from where you come from in the Labour Party, which isn't Ed Miliband's side at all, why are you still backing Keir Starmer? isn't this government about to lurch to the left with people like Ed Miliband now representing it? Surely you should be calling for Starmer to go.
I'm backing Keir Starmer because he's delivering for my constituency. So I represent North Durham, and Stanley, which is the poorer of the two towns in my patch, has got £20 million of Pride in Place funding. It's an area that no one's really done much to regenerate or to create jobs since mines shutting, in the case of Stanley, in the 1960s, not even in the 1980s. So that focus on the most deprived communities in the country, that's delivering for my constituents. And I think that that's just bread and butter social democracy. There's nothing crazily left-wing about it. It's just common sense that we need to go to those left-behind communities.
Your constituents don't want Ed Miliband running the Labour Party. And yet it seems this morning he is.
Well, for my sins, I backed Ed Miliband very heavily in the 2010 leadership election. Then we tested that experiment of Ed running. He's a nice guy and a very, very, very effective minister, but he ran for Prime Minister in 2015, and it wasn't the kind of mix of policies that people want. So I don't really see that he is in the driving seat. He's one of a talented cabinet that we've got with quite a wide range of opinions. But I'm not sure I buy this narrative that you're trying to sell me that the Labour Party has suddenly lurched back in an Ed Miliband direction.
All right, but look, if you say that they're delivering for your constituency and you've got this Pride of Place funding, which is very good, then surely perhaps you might consider that, well, if Keir Starmer stays in place, he is the least popular Prime Minister ever. His poll ratings are dire. He's had numerous U-turns. In fact, if he does stay in post, I suspect that another party like Reform UK may well be the next party to win the general election. Wouldn't it be wiser, perhaps, if you want all that and you want Labour policies to stay in place, because he's just a face of the party, if you want all that, why don't you just get rid of him now? Otherwise,
because we don't want to follow the Tories down the track of repeated changes of Prime Minister, particularly the economic situation. The markets watch this, and they actually quite like the combination of Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. Every time there's some possibility of one of them leaving, it rattles the bond markets. And the international situation that we're in is very fragile in terms of the relationship with the US and the threat from Russia. The last thing we need to do is exhibit to the rest of the world that we keep changing Prime Minister every 5 minutes as though we're post-war Italy or something. One of the great strengths of the British system is that you tend to elect someone for 5 years and then they do 5, or in the case if they're really successful like Margaret Thatcher or Tony Blair, they do 10 or 11 years. And a lot of the delivery that's going to get me and other Labour MPs re-elected, the building blocks have been put in place, but the spending comes on tap later in the Parliament. That's when people are going to see the tangible differences. And I think we're also, during the course of this year, the economic picture is going to get a lot better. Of all places, The Spectator yesterday was saying as early as April we could be seeing better figures on growth.
I think we'll take what you've just said there. We'll put that in a clip, because you said about April, and we'll expect to see the results around about then.
Well, of course, there are also big departmental cuts.
Do a mea culpa if I'm wrong.
Big departmental cuts baked into the spending forecast for the second half of this Parliament. Whether or not they happen, not sure. Not sure that matches the spending picture you're trying to present there. Maybe on this specific fund.
Well, certainly on the specifics of the Pride in Place money, none of that has actually been spent yet. The 20 million has been allocated to my to my patch and 250 other deprived neighbourhoods. It's May next year before any of it gets spent. So
before we let you go, Luke, because we are short on time.
Down the track, but
yeah. Have you spoken to Morgan McSweeney since he was sacked on Sunday?
No, I sent him a message saying I was sorry that he had to take that decision.
All right. Thank you very much, Luke Akehurst. Really good to talk to you. He's the Labour MP for North Durham. Right, we're now joined by GBNews' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. So, Catherine, what more can you tell us?
Yes, so the so-called King of the North, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, a big figure in Labour, the only person that polling suggests would give Labour a bump in the polls if the Prime Minister were replaced, but he's got no prospect of that at the moment because he was blocked just a couple of weeks ago from standing in that crucial Gorton and Denton by-election in Greater Manchester. Now, since all this crisis in the last few days, we've had all the cabinet coming out supportively. We've had the Welsh First Minister, but we hadn't heard a peep from Andy Burnham. But he was here in Westminster at a Resolution Foundation event on Unsung Britain, talking about the bottom 50% of working age families, and he was asked about his position, re the Prime Minister. Let's have a look at what he said.
Yes, he has my support. The government has my support. It is absolutely right that people give the government stability in this moment. I don't agree with you that the government hasn't done anything to support, as you say, working class Britain. I reference things that we are doing with the government support in Greater Manchester.
So saying that the Prime Minister has his support, and that, of course, is one of the big frustrations that he mentioned, the fact that he believes, and Number 10 certainly believe, that the government is doing lots of good things, but is not getting any credit for them, nor indeed being allowed to talk about them, because the focus is inevitably on the latest crisis. I think he is on his best behaviour to a point. He says that the Gorton and Denton by-election is now winnable, though he seemed to take a different view after he was blocked from standing. We shall see. But he also said that he was supportive of the Prime Minister and he wanted stability, but he said that would be helped by a more inclusive way of running the country. I think it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together and see that he was having a little pop at the fact that he has been blocked. So the Prime Minister seems to be safe for now. Wes Streeting clearly wants the job. Angela Rayner's got her tax returns to sort. Andy Burnham doesn't have a way in, but he was calling for a major reset of politics. He said that politicians have got too close to wealth. Obviously, a bleak reference there to Peter Mandelson and Epstein. And he said that a root and branch reform of Whitehall and Westminster is needed. He also just finally said that he had never said that we should ignore the bond markets, but the decisions that politicians have taken since the 80s have left us too beholden to them.
All right, Catherine Foster, thank you very much.
Too beholden to the bond markets, but we shouldn't ignore the bond market. He's trying to walk a difficult tightrope there.
I think what he's saying, no, he's got a point there, though. You don't want to be too beholden to anyone, do you?
Well, I mean, the fact is that we are.
Well, exactly, but that's not the point he was making.
What's he saying? That he doesn't want any national debt? I mean...
Well, he's saying he doesn't want to be too beholden, but perhaps he doesn't quite understand how it works. I think sometimes people say stuff they don't really understand.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yes, President, inspectors on the one of the first of the one-in, one-out deportation flights to France have revealed that there were scuffles, security guards fell asleep, and migrants left the country in flip-flops. In fact, at one point there were 58 security personnel to 20 migrants who were on board. Stay tuned to find out more details, but after the break...
A shocking intervention from the Labour Party leader in Scotland as Anasawa, of course, betrays his former ally, Sir Keir Starmer, tells him to quit.
Distraction needs to end and the leadership in Downing Street has to change.
Well, now one Scottish Labour MP has followed him up the hill. Will any more follow?
Ewan Steinbank, all of that and more. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2. Now, the Prime Minister has backed the Scottish Labour leader, Anna Sarwar, despite Anna Sarwar not backing the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Well, speaking to his cabinet, the Prime Minister stressed that the whole party wants Anna Sarwar to become First Minister and will fight for a Labour government in Scotland.
Well, there's now been another issue because the Labour MP for Falkirk in Scotland, Ewan Steinbank, has joined Anna Sarwar in calling for the Prime Minister to go. So how many more Labour MPs north of the border could follow suit?
We're now joined by the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Russell Findlay. Russell, thank you very much for joining us. Great to have you on. Now, to be honest, and Kemi Badenoch, I think, spoke quite well about this when she said, well, they've all followed their leader to try and keep their jobs. Because actually, Anna Sarwar, even if he was working in cahoots with Wes Streeting, we don't really know. But either way, to me, he's on the side of right, really, because why would you want to endorse a Prime Minister who's taken on such an awful person, Peter Mandelson, in his behaviour, and then everyone's getting on the bandwagon and joining in?
Yeah, I mean, don't find myself saying this very often, but I'm in full agreement with Anna Sarwar on this. Keir Starmer should go. He's been an absolute disaster of a Prime Minister, but I almost feel a little bit sorry for the Scottish Labour leader because it looks very much like, and further details are emerging, it appears that he was the front man for a cunning plot to stage a coup, and as soon as he fired the first shot and looked behind him to see if the others were joining him, he realised they'd turned and run the other direction. So it's chaotic. I mean, Labour are in a complete and utter state of meltdown. And the one question that needs to be asked of every single Scottish Labour MP and MSP is, whose side are you on? Are you Team Starmer or Team Sarwar? You cannot be both. I mean, Jackie Baillie is Anna Sarwar's deputy, yet she sits on the Labour National Executive Council. Douglas Alexander is the Secretary of State for Scotland, who is defending the Prime Minister, but is also apparently running Anna Sarwar's election campaign. But doing what he has done, he is effectively 86 days out from a critical Scottish election where the Scottish Conservatives will be working tirelessly to get the SNP out. Labour are indulging in a civil war. It's an act of sabotage. They've effectively sabotaged their own campaign.
Well, Russell, does this also make it harder for, frankly, anyone who wants to bring the fight to the SNP. Because for the coming weeks, for the coming months, all anyone is going to be asking any Labour candidate in this upcoming election, it's not about the failure of the SNP on education, it's not about the failure of the SNP on tax, it's not about their obsession with independence, it's all going to be about Keir Starmer, Westminster, number 10. It's going to give the SNP a completely free pass.
Absolutely. We see this time and time again. John Swinney is rubbing his hands with glee at the gift that's been given to him by Anas Sarwar's botched assassination attempt on the Prime Minister's job. It's ridiculous. You know, my focus is going to be on the SNP. It's been almost 20 years that they've been in power in Scotland, and viewers across the United Kingdom might find that hard to believe. But believe me, I despair at the state of our country under the Nationalists. We are the highest taxed part of the country. Our benefits bill is way higher than it would be if we were still, if it was entirely reserved to Westminster due to the devolved powers of the SNP government. And we will be fighting to hold their despicable record to account, whether it's on tax and benefits, whether it's on record drugs deaths, whether it's on the trashing of Scotland's education system. But all that will happen for 86 days until May the 7th is Anas Sarwar will be getting asked about what's happening with Keir Starmer, and every single conversation will be around that instead of being around John Swinney and the SNP.
All right, Russell Finlay, thank you very much. He's the leader of the Scottish Conservatives. Thank you for joining us.
You know, I hadn't quite internalised how bad this tax situation in Scotland was until a friend of mine in the army, because they move around, by error were registered for tax in Scotland but was living in England. The amount of extra tax that was taken from their bank account eventually got the money back, but my goodness me, you would not believe how much higher tax is in Scotland compared to England.
Yeah, well, I can believe it, but it looks like we're heading that way as well. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, the government stands accused of protecting one of the ugliest buildings in Britain as London's brutalist South Bank Centre is handed statutory heritage protection after a 35-year campaign. But should we be saddling the country with concrete monstrosities in perpetuity? Well,
all of that and much more after your latest news headlines.
Thank you very much. The top stories. Andy Burnham says he spoke to Sir Keir Starmer about the Labour Party needing a strong sense of stronger team again, as he called for briefings to be dialed down. Cabinet ministers have rallied around the Prime Minister as he fights to shore up his position following questions over Lord Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador. Buckingham Palace says it will support police if contacted over allegations about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. A palace spokesman said the King has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concerns at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr Mountbatten Windsor's conduct. 18-year-olds will soon be permitted to drive trains. The move comes amid fears over a potential upcoming driver shortfall, with a quarter of train drivers expected to reach retirement age by 2030. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you,
afternoon,
Tati.
Britain.
Thank you, Tatiana. I said, thank you, Tati. Sorry, Tatiana. Thank you. God, well, I've got to say, the Prime Minister, I think, is in a predicament, even though he's quite effectively tried to brush things aside and unite people. And, you know, the point I was trying to make about Angela Rayner, so Angela Rayner not in a position to take on the mantle of anything right now until she sorts out her tax investigation. But what Keir Starmer's very good at is getting those things so that it's, in my view, I think he's going to somehow work behind the scenes to make it take a lot longer than it might well take.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Is this support from the Cabinet genuine? Think about how long it took for the Prime Minister to extract, if we're to believe all the papers, through threat of sack. You know, back me or I'll sack you was the threat, allegedly, number 10, foisted upon all of those cabinet ministers.
Back, sack or I'll crack.
That's one way to put it. But of course, it took a long time for these people to eventually row back from the very edge. They are still ready to pounce when the right time comes. This is not a Prime Minister who is safe in his position. All of his enemies are simply waiting for their time.
Well, do you know what? I think that kind of shows you the kind of people they are, because actually the day before, David Lammy had written front cover of the Telegraph how he had warned the Prime Minister about not giving Mandelson the job, and others had come forward and said things, but yet when it came to the crunch, suddenly they're all back together again. I mean, I guess they are bound by collective ministerial responsibility, right? And this could fall under that guise.
Yeah.
But in reality, when there's something of a moral nature, then I think you can break away from that and stick to principles, which we hope that they have.
Well, I mean, I think if you're calling for the Prime Minister to resign, you would have to step down from the cabinet in order to do so. That would be very, very much a breach of cabinet collective responsibility.
But I guess. But this is a kind of more moral thing, though, isn't it? It's where you will search your conscience to see whether you can tolerate that sort of association and that link with your party. In a way, I guess Anas Sarwar did cast himself to one side, but I think he did the right thing. I do think he did the right thing, and I'm glad to see some politicians still go by the courage of their convictions.
Well, here's the thing. We have not heard from so many Scottish Labour MPs and Scottish MSPs. There are going to be more. Between now and the Scottish elections, there are going to be more who say the Prime Minister has to go. And it's a bit like, and I spoke about this a bit earlier on the programme, that drip, drip, drip effect that was so damaging for Boris Johnson. If indeed there is a drip, drip, drip effect, more leaks about what was said about Mandelson, more MPs, one by one, slowly, not all in one go, but dripping along, telling the Prime Minister that his time is up, that keeps this story alive, and that's pertinently damaging.
I wonder how Keir Starmer said, "If you don't back me, you are sacked." I wonder how that
was that Keir Starmer or a Dalek?
It was the voice from the cabbage, actually. The voice of the cabbage's little mouth went. But I'm just wondering, so who would do those calls then to warn people? Would it be the whips? Would somebody call up the MPs?
It will be the whipping operation. It will be some of the people around the Prime Minister in Number 10. It will have been an all-hands-on-deck move yesterday from Number 10, and there will have been threats. We know, reportedly, there have been threats to those cabinet ministers unless they send a supportive tweet, unless they follow their dear leader like a late Brezhnev-era apparatchik.
Down the gutter. then he's sacked. That's it. Yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it, that actually they can't really operate as, in a sense, individuals because they're in the cabinet, so they have to make sure that they do well.
But all it will take is the dam to break, one to resign. And this is why things seem so precarious for the Prime Minister. He can't sack any more advisers.
No.
There are no human shields now in his way. He is standing there alone. He can't sack Morgan McSweeney. He's gone. He can't sack his Director of Communications, or what will be his 5th Director of Communications in his premiership.
Since September,
my goodness me. This is a Number 10 that is crumbling before our very eyes.
Well, he is doing a good job of trying to hold it together, and I guess his only move was to support Anas Sarwar, because then he could, in a sense, sort of allow Scotland to detach itself. But let's cross live now to Hertfordshire, where the Prime Minister is speaking at a community centre after calls for him to resign.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving up your time this afternoon so I can have a chat with you. It's been a busy week, and therefore it's very nice to be here with you, and I'm really looking forward. I think I'm going to come round from table to table. But I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to have the opportunity to say that I know that whatever's going on in the world, and it's volatile out there in the world at the moment, and whatever's going in the turmoil of politics, there's been quite a lot of that going on in the last few days, I know that for you and for millions of people, what matters most is the cost of living. Actually paying the bills, getting through, improving living standards, public services that work. These are the things that matter hugely for people. They're the things that we were charged with changing when we won the election. And I know that's what matters most, from personal experience. When I was growing up, we didn't have enough money to pay our bills. And I know what it feels like to sit around the kitchen table worrying about the fact that you can't make ends meet. And that's what people are doing across the country. And our job is to change that. But I also know it's the most important issue that we must focus on, because I know what I'm fighting for and who I'm fighting for. I've got the most working class cabinet in the history of this country sitting around my cabinet table. And I'm really proud of that. Really proud of what they bring to the table. Their personal journeys to get there. Their experiences. But it is utter nonsense to suggest that that means everybody gets a fair chance in life. Utter nonsense. I feel very strongly about this. I'm in that cabinet as Prime Minister, having come from a working class background, to be Prime Minister of this country. But that's the exception. That is not the rule. Even within my own family. My brother, who died last year, he had difficulties learning when he was growing up. He spent his adult life wandering from job to job in virtual poverty. This system, this political system, didn't work for him. And there are millions of people in the same boat. Children in poverty, young people who don't get the opportunities they deserve, millions of people held back because of a system that doesn't work for them, who are not given the dignity, the respect, the chance that they deserve. And I'm fighting for them. I am their Prime Minister, and this is their government. And I will never give up on that fight. There are some people in recent days who say the Labour government should have a different fight, a fight with itself, instead of a fight for the millions of people who need us to fight for them. And I say to them, I will never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I am charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love. And that is the country who I truly believe we are, a compassionate, reasonable, live and let live country, a diverse country, where given half the chance, we'll help each other out. That is who we are as a country, and I want to serve every single part of that country. The country that I love. But the fight coming up in politics, the real fight, is not in the Labour Party. It's with the right-wing politics that challenges that. The politics of reform. The politics of divide, divide, divide. Grievance, grievance, grievance. That will tear our country apart. That is the fight that we are in. And I will be in that fight as long as I have breath in my body. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm now looking forward to a nice cup of tea.
Now, I was in the House of Commons last night and got briefed that that was exactly the same speech that the Prime Minister made to Labour MPs, or pretty much word for word. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I'm going to start there, and I'll come round to see the rest of you. Thank you.
Now, the Prime Minister is going to be talking individually to some of these people at this community centre. We can't quite listen into these conversations. But as I was saying, The Prime Minister addressed hundreds of Labour MPs and Lords in Committee Room 14 of the House of Commons yesterday. I and about 100 other journalists were standing outside, speaking to MPs afterwards, hearing exactly what he was saying. And I noted down, I mean, all of these themes, the fact that he talked about his brother and his sister, his working class upbringing in his words, the fact that he spoke about this idea that he has the most working class cabinet in the history of the country, that he, as long as he has breath in his body, will fight to work for people like his brother, who grew up with learning difficulties and lived in near poverty through his life.
Yeah, he said the system doesn't work for millions. Millions are held back because of a system that doesn't work. He said he's fighting for that. He also said that he will never walk away from delivering the mandate for this country, the country that I love. And he repeated the country that I love. And he talked about the fight. He said it's not within the Labour Party, but the fight is actually with reform, and they will tear our country apart, and I will be in that fight for as long as there is breath in my body. So
I wonder if we can listen to what the Prime Minister is saying now.
Contribution or comment?
Thank you. My question's about...
Now, we can't quite hear what is being asked, but we'll listen into the Prime Minister's answer.
Damp as it is today, but it hasn't been as cold. So what's the government going to do for us going forward if we have a cold winter ahead next year?
Yeah, so really good, because I think for many people the energy bill is the one at the moment they worry about the most, particularly in the winter period. And so what we're doing is, in April, we're taking £150 off the energy bills for every single household. So £150 off the bill. For those 6 million who are the sort of poorer households in the country, we've already taken 150 off. So for them, there's both elements of this, which is really important. I should say there's other element of this, and that is what's going on internationally, because the conflict in Ukraine doubled your energy bills. So Ukraine isn't some distant conflict where it's a battle between right and wrong, which it is, and we stand with the Ukrainians. It's actually something that comes effectively through your letterbox every month, because the bills have gone up. They're still 40% higher because of the conflict in Ukraine. So the work we're doing internationally to try to get to a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, which is really important in its own right for Ukrainians, for Europe and for us, is also really important for getting our energy bills down. And that'll get it down by a lot more than £150. So both of those need to come together. Is there anything more you would do?
Oh, I don't know.
But it does worry. I mean, energy bills really worry people because they then don't turn the heating on, don't turn it up so high. These are all the things that ladder up to people feeling, I'm not getting the deal I should be getting in life. I'm not being able to do what I should be able to do. And it really, really matters to people. Who else has got a question? Yes, sir.
The child poverty strategy that came out in the end of 25 is really strong. What my question is that with resources getting really stretched, you know, a housing association calls them a tenant, a GP calls them a patient, a school calls them a pupil. They're the same people with the same issues. And how do you get these different silos to communicate, use it as a framework, to collaborate more so resources and funding can be used to really support the families that everyone is here for?
Yeah, hugely important, because in all of these issues, but child poverty is an example of them, there's usually lots of things that need to be dealt with, and they are usually dealt with in slightly different compartments, and we need to bring it together. And doing that, the reason we've got a child poverty strategy is so it can go across the department. So it's not just in one of the silos, it's actually across all the departments. And it all comes together because there's a two-child benefit limit, which has dragged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty under the last government, for which they should never be forgiven, frankly. But at the same time, there's the work that needs to be done to ensure that people get more money in their pocket through wages that actually reflect the job that they're doing, wages that their minimum wages are rising. There's the work that needs to be done on free school meals, which we're rolling out to a much greater extent. free breakfast clubs. But that's not just about money, that is also about giving children a chance. Because if you arrive at school with no breakfast, you're not going to learn very much. Whereas if you go to a breakfast club, get something to eat, you can have a better chance. And so that child won't be held back. And it goes back to this business about being held back. Children in poverty struggle to reach their full potential. There is shed loads of evidence to that effect. So the policy of holding children back in poverty is a policy of holding children back from their potential. And it is, you know, a myth to suggest that people can go as far as their talent will take them. You can't go as far as your talent will take you if you're growing up in poverty. And that's why it is about money, but it's about who we are, what we believe in, and who we're fighting for. Did I see a hand over here? Yes, sir.
My name's Johnny. I work for a youth homelessness charity, so coming up in age range slightly from child poverty strategies.
So the homelessness generally?
Yeah, and particularly for young people, and we know that the single biggest cause of youth homelessness is family breakdown. So I'm interested in what support there is for those interventions that can be designed to keep families together, so that we don't end up with a lost generation who are left without homes. So I think that support for prevention services is critical.
Really important. I mean, on homelessness, we've put in £3.5 billion, so a record amount into homelessness. We put in 37 million to help organisations that are helping with homelessness, because they tend to know in their own patch what the best thing to do is. And so we need to provide the support so people have got a roof over their head. But the real way to tackle this is to make sure people don't get into that position in the first place. And that can be marriage breakdown, family breakdown, can be very often mental health, particularly with younger people, and of course poverty. So we need to put in the mental health provision, and brings me back to cost of living. We need to make sure that people have got adequate resource. The other thing that is really important is to get rid of no-fault evictions, which we're doing. Because too many people have a roof over their head and then they don't have a roof over their head through no fault of their own. So all these things need to ladder up. Yes, we need to, where people are already homeless, provide the support to get them somewhere to, and it's not just a roof over your head, it is a roof over your head, that really matters, but you will know it's the other support that needs to go in around it. Otherwise it tends to be temporary and relapse rather than actually a root off. But we need to get to grips with the root causes of it as well. Thank you very much. I'm going to have that cup of tea now, if you don't mind. How do you do it?
Microphone is removed from the Prime Minister's hands there. We have been listening to the Prime Minister take questions from his community centre in Hertfordshire. This is perhaps an easier crowd for him than the MPs last night.
Yes, I think this is an easy crowd. Perhaps maybe some of those questions may have been vetted. I mean, I don't know. But it's quite dangerous for politicians to just allow the general public to ask them anything. So this feels to me that it was slightly organised in some way. Do you think?
Well, I think people are naturally a bit deferential. And they know that it's all being filmed and no one's going to shout at a man while he's down, I suppose. But didn't you think that when he said those words, you know, fight for the country I love, those were the last three words? The country I love.
The country I love.
That's
four words.
Man. 4 words. 4 words.
Are you adding fight for as well?
No. Those were the last 4 words that Theresa May ever said as Prime Minister from Downing Street.
Oh, really?
And her throat slightly cracked as she said them. And I couldn't but help be taken back to that moment in 2019 as Theresa May resigned, using those same words as the Prime Minister was standing there, let's be honest, fighting for his job, saying, I will never walk away, talking more personally than he has ever done in public before about his brother, who died last year, about his sister, about his family, his personal circumstance. He hates to talk about his personal circumstance, and yet he's doing it now because he has to.
I find that a little bit uncomfortable that he's bringing those things in and bringing them in at the moment where he's politically struggling. You know, I'd like to be genuine as a person and think that he was doing that specifically because he wanted to bring people into himself and his life, but somehow I feel he did that because he needed to get the emotion of people so that they could be gentler on him and bring them on side. That's how he's using... To me, he's using those instances, although it does sound unfair and unkind of me to say that, but that is what I see. Somebody who is struggling and will literally use anything to get through. And he said he's never lost... Remember what he said before? He's never lost a fight. So he is fighting there, and he will use whatever it means at his disposal to win.
I mean, I think these are genuine feelings that he has.
Well, they are, but brought out at a time which can be quite a manipulative thing to use. But, you know, that's my view. I'm not being unkind, but I see it that it's a manipulative, emotional kind of manipulation.
I think it's noteworthy that he hasn't often brought out these things before, but I think that's probably because it's emotionally difficult for him to do so.
Yes, I agree with that, absolutely, but also it's emotionally, I think, probably a great way of bringing people in to soften them. If you're going to tell people about things that are uncomfortable for you to talk about, that affect your heart, then you are trying to emotionally soften people, I think.
Well, I think this is the very start of the fight back from the Prime Minister.
Absolutely,
he knows that everything that he says... This is the first time, let's remember, the first time we've seen him in public since last week. Everything that has been going on has been behind closed doors. We haven't seen the Prime Minister until this moment. This is the first time we saw him since he lost his communications director, his chief of staff, the support of his Scottish Labour leader, the support of some of his MPs, and had to fight for his cabinet to stick by him. The first time we've seen him there in public.
Well, I don't know. Let's just see how he gets on. I don't... You know, I think he needs to look at the country. He seems to be refocusing on the country. He's not running away, he's not going abroad. That's good. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon, Britain. Don't go anywhere.
Absolutely. Martin Daubney is up next, taking the baton.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network